Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Following the Nerd Show with me, your host, and over there, miles away, but yet not right beside me, Mr. Stephen McCullough.
Hello everyone, and I'll be polite this week. I'll keep my voice as low as I possibly can. How are you doing, Mark? How's life treating?
I'm very good, sir. How are you?
Oh, you know, the usual. Miserable as always, but then again, that's what you get whenever you've been on YouTube for 10 plus years. Hey!
Here, what about that heat?
Man, I gotta tell you, right? I just nipped out to the shop before the live stream started to get my my nectar, right? And I was in the shop, and it was nice and cool. Paid for my wares, and as I was leaving the shop, it was like, you know, like when you're on holiday, like you're in Spain, and just this wall of just heat hits you the second you leave the shop. That's what it was like tonight.
I know, and we Irish, we're not built for this heat.
We're really not. I actually saw this really great post on Facebook where it was someone saying, look, it applies to British people, it applies to all people in the UK, that said, look, we don't have aircon, alright? We're not used to this. So if we're going to go on the internet and complain about the heat, let us go on the internet and complain about the heat. You know? All temperature matters.
Right, so we've had a couple of shows over us this week, but this is it. This is the big one this Thursday night. This is our live 2-hour special. On tonight's show, we have really big news, as the rumour is that Ryan Reynolds is coming back to the DCEU as Green Lantern. We're also going to be talking about big Batman Beyond news. J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU and the Spider-Man movies, which is always good news.
Indeed.
Is there a 5th Aliens movie coming? We'll have some news on that. And really, really big news for Doctor Who fans. This is really cool. If you want to spend some money, if you want to get really engrossed in a story, we have something really big for you tonight.
Indeed we
on
do.
Top of that,
and also, if you want to spend some money tonight, super chat us. We will read out every single super chat that we get tonight. So come on. Come on.
Absolutely. And we know there's some of the guys in the chats already. We'll be talking to you all very, very soon. Also on tonight's show, Gerald of Australia is going to be reviewing Xenoblade Chronicles. Our guy Paul is going to have the comic book roundup. And Valverde is going to be reviewing Class of 1999. So that's 2 hours. What are you going to do on a Thursday night that could possibly be better than spending some really, really cool time with me and this guy?
I can think of one other thing, but it's NSFW, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, keep it clean. So yeah, listen, oh my god, there was some really big news during the week. We did 2 shows on it. Michael Keaton possibly coming back as Batman, which is huge news. We're going to really get into that on this show as well. And our big exclusive story that a lot of people seem to be very excited about, even though some people are naysayers. We promise you that as far as we're concerned, it's absolutely true. There is a Ghostbusters live TV show coming.
And don't forget, folks, we broke the story. We got the scoop on this one, right? And I know we're not established like some of the bigger companies or what have you, but trust us, this is real. This is happening. Tell your friends. Get excited. It's a good time.
This is real. Yes, listen, so here's the thing. Get on the chat tonight. Tell us about who is your favourite Ghostbusters. If you could have any Ghostbusters team, the first movie, the third movie, the real Ghostbusters, the Extreme Ghostbusters, the IDW Ghostbusters, if you could have any team back in a TV show, who would it be? Tell us in the chat. We want to know.
Yeah, and there's also some people as well, because I happened to mention during our Ghostbusters live stream about my own personal recon of Answer the Call. I'm not doing too bad now. I've just passed the Joe the Rock concert where they catch the first ghost. So just after that, I'm just sneakily sliding right into them DMs. I'm going to put a montage. Because doesn't a Ghostbusters movie need a montage of them catching ghosts?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm doing my best. I've got a load of deleted scenes. I tried using scenes of them busting ghosts, you know, from the big finale at the end, but it didn't work right. So my focus is on Holtzman building the gadgets, intercut with this little kind of running gag of Chris Hemsworth struggling and failing to answer a phone call. So we've got that worked in there, and it's set to the Calvin Harris song. I think it's Calvin. No, it's Mark Ronson. I get those two confused all the time. The Mark Ronson song "Get Ghost" that was brought out with the 2016 movie. So it's looking pretty well so far. It's just the rest of it to do now. But I'm looking to cut it down to about an hour and a half. That's a good run time for a comedy. Hour and a half.
Yeah, I think it is. In the chats at the minute, we have James, we have Jack, and we have 8-Bit Turtle all saying hello. Hello, guys. We're looking forward to interacting with you tonight. Right, okay, listen. Here's the thing. We'll get into the first big news. The big news during the week was that Michael Keaton might be coming back as Batman. Basically bringing back the 1989 version of Batman, which is probably still the best.
Yeah, arguably, I'd say he is. I mean, it kind of fell off the rails a little bit with Batman Returns, but I mean, I do love me some 89 Batman. It's iconic, it works great. I love him as Bruce Wayne, I love him as Batman. I love the world, I love that universe. Just that design of Gotham City by Anton Furst. It's timeless, it's gorgeous. There's something gothic yet 1930s about it. And it just, the Batmobile, the Batcave, everything about it. It's just become so iconic. Nicholson's Joker as well, let's not forget. So, I would say he's the most iconic and the most memorable. I do like Christian Bale, but the voice,
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's something really weird about Christian Bale's lips in that mask as well. He looks kind of... I always think of the remember the comedy sketch? Where's the commissioner? That one. I just can't listen to Bale and not think of that now, and it kind of has taken the taste off it a little bit.
Is that the one where Superman appears and he puts the glass on? He's like, "Where did you go?"
Yeah, where did you go? You were gone there for a minute. Yeah, so I just can't get past that. Right, okay, so here's the big news. Midnight's Edge, we're big fans of Midnight's Edge here. They are reporting that Michael Keaton is in talks to come back for a cameo in The Flash, as we reported during the week. He is also possibly going to pop up in other movies over the following couple of years, as we reported during the week. But it seems that Warner Brothers and AT&T are very, very excited about the idea of having Michael Keaton back for a Batman Beyond movie.
Yeah, because we were talking about this earlier in the week when the story first broke, and the idea seemed to be that he was playing some sort of Nick Fury type character, where he would remain in the shadows, which, fair play, he's Batman, but we wouldn't see him in a major focus role. This seems to go against that now, where it's almost him passing the torch on to, what is it, Terry McGinnis?
Terry McGinnis,
I keep forgetting his name. I'm terrible in my head, like I said. But yeah, this is really, really great news. And hopefully,
it's really exciting
again,
news.
hopefully it's true. Is this confirmed?
It's not confirmed, but I'm going to throw in a wee bit of information that ties back to stuff that we have been hearing over the last wee while, okay?
Alright.
So, apparently, not only do they want him to come back for a Batman Beyond movie, they want it to be based on the animated movie Return of the Joker, which was a really, really dark story where Tim Drake becomes the Joker, where he basically has, he mutates and he becomes this clone version of the Joker. They're looking to go down that line.
Nice.
They want Tim Burton to come back and direct, giving him the closing on his Batman trilogy. And they are talking to Johnny Depp as the Joker.
Well, of course they are, because it's only a matter of time, isn't it, before Tim Burton makes a Batman movie that has Johnny Depp in it.
I think this is really exciting.
It is really exciting, yeah, but I mean, come on, it's Johnny Depp. He's a Tim Burton regular. Let's get Helena Bonham Carter in there as well, shall we? Just for good measure.
Definitely.
Talia al Ghul.
Absolutely, yes. But yeah, I mean, Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, and Michael Keaton all together in a Batman movie. Mate, seriously. Somebody's been sacrificing virgins to the nerd gods. This is absolutely amazing.
Do you know what I think it is? 2020 has sucked donkey balls. And just everyone is just trying to just pat each other in the back, scratch each other in the back, and just go, come on, it's not all bad. Look, we'll give you some good stuff here. You've got to take the sweet with the sour. So come on, let's give the nerds something to rant and rave about here. Come on. Between this and that Ghostbusters news that broke earlier this week, this is phenomenal, and I'm really, really excited to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. Hello, by the way, to Bro Medic in the chat. I mean, this, honestly, mate, this is absolutely incredible. Now, there's a couple of things I want to add on to this, okay? Because this could also be the start of a really big franchise, because obviously this is going to introduce a younger Batman in the shape of Terry McGinnis, which is going to take it possibly into a whole new Batman franchise. There could also be, a fully experienced and aged Nightwing, Batgirl, all those other characters.
Yep.
But there is one, actually there's two actors that I really want to see coming back. The first one is Billy D. Williams.
Naturally. I mean, you got to get the Two-Face thing going on here, don't you? Because we were teased in the first movie. He was supposed to be back in Batman Returns. That role was then given to Christopher Walken and completely modified to become Max Schreck. And Billy D was then kicked to the curb whenever Joel Schumacher, the late, great Joel Schumacher, took over for Batman Forever.
And we know that this was something that haunted Billy D. Saxon, I think you have a clip here. We talked to Billy D. We interviewed him a few years ago in Dublin, and he actually talked about not getting to play the Two-Face role. Have you got that clip?
I do. Here it is.
A lot of our fans, we would cover a lot of movies and comic books. And of course, one of my favourite roles of yours was as Harvey Dent in Tim Burton's Batman in '89. What was it like to get that role? And were you disappointed whenever Tommy Lee Jones came on then later on?
Yeah, well, you know, I was hired to play Harvey Dent for the company that had the movie at the time, hoping that I would end up playing Two-Face, but there was a change of hands, so they went totally in a totally different direction. But I think it would have been more interesting for me to have played it, because it originally was not written for somebody of my little brown-skinned boy like me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really an interesting idea, but there was no follow-up on it.
So obviously this is something that has stuck in his craw for quite a while.
Yes, it is indeed. And like, can you blame him? Because I mean,
of course not.
Surely whenever he was hired to play Harvey Dent in the '89 movie, he read up on this, or he was told about this, or whatever it was that came to pass. This was the direction he was supposed to go in. In Batman Returns, the Penguin was supposed to give him the scars down the side of his face. In the third movie, he was supposed to be the primary antagonist. So, of course, it's bound to be something that's just completely hanging over his head to this very day.
Well, I mean, I would love personally to see, it goes back to, we have the aged Batman, we have aged characters, and even just go to Arkham Asylum, just have them talk to Harvey Dent. Harvey's in Arkham, he's a retired criminal, super criminal, he's got the scar, he's sitting there. Batman needs to talk to him about something that the Joker set up all those years ago, or some sort of virus, and bang, it's Billy D.
Yeah, like just one little scene, one little cameo. That's all we need.
That's all we need. And it just, my head would explode.
Yeah.
I just sit in the cinema.
I mean, did you ever think you'd see the day that we'd be getting another Tim Burton directed Batman movie with Michael Keaton?
Not in an absolute fit. Now, also talking about returning actors, you couldn't have, I mean, we know Penguin died at the end of the second movie, and we know that Joker died at the end of the first movie. Yeah. Johnny Depp is going to come back as a different version of the Joker, which, I know you'd have people going, oh, they're getting tired of ideas. No, this is part of the canon. This is a big part of the Batman story in the Batman Beyond universe. I'm perfectly cool with that. But one other actor or / actress we need to see is Michelle Pfeiffer. Mate, she posted something about a year ago, and take a look at this.
Look what I found. Needs a little TLC.
Whoosh! Meow, saucer of milk, table 2.
I mean, seriously, oh my god.
I mean, she still got it. She never lost it. There it is. And we know that she's alive too, because at the end of Returns, we see her apparently floating on nothing, looking up at the bat signal. Yeah. So she is still around.
In an alternate take from Crisis on Infinite Earth as well, remember we saw that newspaper that Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne got married?
Yeah.
So it would certainly make sense that the two of them maybe are age crime fighters, or, it would be a good way to introduce Huntress as well in this universe. Could be Catwoman and Batman's daughter. There's so many great things you could do here. But we know as well, Michelle Pfeiffer is still amazing. She's beautiful. She's talented. She's in the Ant-Man series of movies at the minute. She's still looking absolutely incredible. It sort of looks like DC are going to just take all the Marvel actors.
Yeah, we're just going to take them all back.
We're taking them back.
Yeah.
We're taking them back.
All right, Marvel, you've had your fun, but it's time to bring our boys home. Bring our boys and our girls home.
forget about whatever idol roles we were playing for you guys. This is where it's at. In the chat as well here, what are we seeing? Jude Mong said it would be cool if we got a Dark Knight Returns Batman Beyond mix. Maybe a Carrie Kelly Robin along with Terry McGinnis as Batman. Absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And we did that show a couple weeks ago because apparently Zack Snyder had hinted that the Carrie Kelly Robin was the plan, because we saw the dead Dick Grayson suit in Batman v Superman, but it was heading down that road, so we're definitely heading that way in that universe, so I don't see any reason why we couldn't that way. Harvey Clark says, when I close my eyes it's dark, when I open my eyes it's dark.
That's a reference to a live stream me and Anthony did last night.
Right, okay. Well, so that's our crossover event then. But listen,
Crisis on Infinite Channels.
Yeah, this is. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, man, me too.
Even if it doesn't come to pass, just that moment of hope. Just that hope.
I would say that's the dangerous thing about hope. Just as quickly as it's given, it can be snatched away. You gave me hope and then you took it away. That makes me very dangerous.
You okay there? You done?
Yeah, I'm alright. Yeah. Like, if you could pass my headshots on to any, casting agents you may know, that would be great.
Now, do we want to do some news, or do we want to go through one of our first segments in the night, Saxon? What do you think?
I think a cheeky little segment wouldn't go amiss.
Okay, what are we going to go with?
Do you know what? We'll start with my boy from the land of Valverde, Richard Jackson.
Alright.
So, Mr. Jackson tonight is giving us his review of Class of 1999, and we're going to party like Valverde have just sent us a new video. Back in a moment.
Remember last week when I lightheartedly leaned into the looming viral apocalypse? Well, I'm not going to do anything like that this week, so you can relax. Imagine the futuristic year of 1999. The USA has fallen to mass civil unrest. Free fire zones exist where the police don't enter, and the citizens reject their authority. Oh, fudge.
Cops gave this place up.
We can't go this way.
Well, the fucking Razorheads control this whole area now, man.
For some reason, high schools still operate in these free fire zones, and when Cody Culp, played by all of my haircuts from 1996, gets out of special futuristic boy prison, he heads back to school to find out there's something not quite right with the teachers. They're flipping robots, mate. Directed by Mark L. Lester and acting as a sequel to his earlier film, The Class of 1984, 99 carries the themes of that film forward but inverts the student-teacher antagonism, and I cannot stress this enough, adds robots. A highly commendable decision that I just wish more sequels had the balls to take. The main and most obvious speculative through line of The Class of 1984 was, what if we don't act to curb violence in schools? The Class of 1999 takes that question one step further by asking, what if we overreact to violence in schools? Much like The Running Man, the satirical takes of The Class of 1999 feel way nearer the knuckle than they did 30 years ago. Scenes of metal detectors and gun violence in schools make for pretty uncomfortable viewing in the current climate, much how lots of Running Man's fake TV shows feel like real formats in 2020. Whilst the original film was basically Death Wish in a school, the sequel seems to want to take elements of RoboCop and the Terminator and place them in a collegiate setting in order to discuss corporal punishment, corporate overreach, and violence in education.
I'm a firm believer in negative reinforcement, Cult. Better be careful from now on, Cult.
My PE teacher was a Burke, but at least he wasn't a robo. Burke. Sadly, the thematic stuff is pretty lightweight. It's essentially a clothes horse onto which you can hang a serviceable sci-fi romp. Beyond the obvious, the film doesn't have a huge amount to say. It does manage to fit in a nice bit of body horror, which is pretty apt since the film's cinematographer was Mark Irwin, who worked on a number of classic early Cronenberg movies and coincidentally RoboCop 2, which was released the same year. The design and execution of the robots is pretty weak, which is a shame, because Eric Allard, who co-created Johnny 5 with the great Sid Mead, was hired for this film by Lester because of his work on Short Circuit. Also, 99 brazenly apes the Terminator in places, which only goes to underline how lacking it is in that department. In fact, some of the similarities to the Terminator are a bit, well... There are lots of positives to be had here though. There's lots of excellent stunt work on show, and when the effects work, they work really well. And then there's the cast. Yes, that is Pam Grier. Yes, that is Malcolm McDowell. And yes, that is Stacey Keach. Incidentally, I've read in various places online that Keach's character is supposed to have albinism. Sadly, it appears that nobody involved in this film knew what that was or what it looks like. The 1980s has been endlessly mined for nostalgia, and I often find the kind of movies that movement is pining for never actually existed. Except for when they did, and the class of 1999 is definitely a good example. The sheer absurdity of the whole thing allows it to sit next to Kung Fury or Turbo Kid. Particularly ironic since the film was released in 1990, having been shot 2 years earlier in 1988. Ultimately, the best way to describe the class of 1999 is that if you tried to explain it to someone, they would think you were making it up. The evil corporation is called Megatech. And how much storage does a hyper-capable, hyper-realistic war droid need?
Mr. Bryars, 1 million megabytes.
That's a terabyte, mate. The average teenage boy has more porn than that on his phone. Not me, though. I've got way more. It's often said online that we should be remaking films that didn't work instead of ones that did, and I'm usually asked to pick one. Having watched this now, I've decided that I'd definitely remake the class of 1999. It would either be a sharp satire on the state of education, or deeply crass and insensitive. It'd be the second one. Class of 1999 is available on Blu-ray now. Also, someone's uploaded it to YouTube, but you didn't hear it from me. Bye!
Oh man, I love a good Terminator ripoff. Class of 1999. What? Yeah, so thanks very much to Valverde Broadcasting for sending that over to us. More great content can be found on their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Valverde Broadcasting. Mark, yes. Back to yourself.
Hello. Yes. Oh, right. What's happening? So all I seem to have written in the last week on followthenerd.com is about returning actors and crossing over universes and all this kind of stuff, and it's great. I have no problems with that whatsoever. This one, however, kind of blew my mind a little bit. There is a big rumor right now that the Snyder Cut, which of course we know is coming on HBO Max next year, is going to feature Green Lantern. Now, we knew all along that, remember Unite the seventh person was either going to be the Martian Manhunter or the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So we knew that originally, apparently, the tease was that at the very end of the movie, you would see a green glow and it would be hinted that the Green Lantern is coming, or, Hal Jordan, or whoever it may be, is coming. Now, the rumor is that we're going to get Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern at the end of the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, indeed. What a bizarre left field choice, seeing as the Green Lantern absolutely tanked. The Green Lantern movie tanked the original plans for DC to start a shared multiverse, and it looks like Zack Snyder has finally given him a second bite of the cherry.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, this isn't as left field as you might think it is, because we know that originally Martin Campbell's Green Lantern movie was supposed to be the start of the DCEU, and unfortunately, because it failed, that then became Man of Steel. I have issues with the Green Lantern movie, but I think just the sheer scale of the movie is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. There's a reason why the Green Lantern power ring, as seen in the 2011 movie, sits proudly as part of my display collection. There's a lot to like in there. I just think it's a movie that would have really benefited from a tighter edit.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that while the character work and everything else wasn't great, I think Ryan Reynolds has it in him to be a wonderful Hal Jordan.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds has it in him to be a wonderful anything. I mean, he would make a serial killer look sympathetic, Again, his performance in the Green Lantern movie is sublime. I think it's really funny. One of my favorite lines from that movie is at the start, when he wakes up and he's late for the test pilot thing. And there's a lady in his bed, and he's been necking with her. And he goes, he's getting dressed, and he goes, "Do you need anything? There's there's water in the tap, and then he just leaves. Like, that's one of my favorite lines from any movie. But yeah, it would be really, really nice and almost kind of bizarre to see him pop up in the Justice League movie. Like, would he still be as snarky? Would he still have that typical Ryan Reynolds charm to him? Would he be sort of like the DC version of Deadpool? You know, like where he's like walking around going like, geez, why is everyone looking so dark and gloomy here?
Well, here's the thing. We also know in the CW crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths, they also at the end established that the Green Lantern movie is still out there. It's still canon. That universe is still alive. So again, it isn't that big of a shock. I think what they're going to do, since we've been talking so much over the last couple of shows about how DC are going to go full hardcore onto the multiverse, I don't think this is the same Green Lantern.
Do you reckon
I think
so?
if we do see him, it's a different universe Green Lantern.
Okay, fair enough. Makes sense.
Now, will he be the same? Will he go on the same? Possibly. But they can do this and just pretend the last movie didn't happen in this universe.
Yeah. Again, makes perfect sense to me. I think a lot of people from the outside looking in will look at this and go, but that's the same Green Lantern that I saw knocking about with Taika Waititi like 9 years ago, you know?
I completely agree. But I think, personally, I think what this is going to be is I think they're going to just sort of bring him in really for 30 seconds at the end of the movie.
And that'll just be it.
And I think that'll just be it. The camera will pan up, there'll be a green glow, Ryan Reynolds will stand there, fade to black. One of the big rumours was supposed to be at the time that Bruce Wayne was going to be offered the role of a Lantern.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
And that he would have turned it down to stay and protect Earth, basically. So maybe you could see somebody else being selected, because if they showed him being selected in a different way, then that would establish this is a different Green Lantern.
I got 2 words for you, man. John.
After you knock everything over?
Yeah, after you knock everything over. No. I've got 2 words for you. John Stewart.
Yes.
Please.
Oh, please.
That's my favorite.
Idris Elba.
Oh, that's my favorite Green Lantern. I grew up watching him as part of the Justice League animated series.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this would be class. The other thing about it is, of course, is that while we all are sort of hoping that this might see the return of Ben Affleck, that it might lead to a HBO Max TV series, Batman series, and there's talk that Jared Leto's Joker is going to come back, and that they're going to have how do you pronounce his name?
Magnaniello?
Yes.
The bully from Spider-Man.
We're not good with names. If he, we might get a TV show with him in it, that, we're all hoping that. But the other thing is that there's always the chance that this movie will come out, the fans will love it, it'll be great, and that'll be it. And if that's the case, it's just a wee fun nod.
Yeah, exactly, and so be it, if so.
So that is absolutely cute. And the thing about it, the whole multiverse thing now as well is quite clever, because it means that both versions of the Justice League movie can exist in different universes, and it's all very complicated.
Well, I mean,
I think this is interesting.
Like, I guess that is sort of the ultimate in having your cake and getting it too, or eating your cake and having it too. The whole idea of doing multiverses and different timelines, it means you can do whatever you like, you can bring in whatever characters you want, you can rewrite whatever you want, and it all makes sense because it's just, they're from a different universe. Some would call it lazy, others would call it a stroke of genius. Me, I call it madness, pure cinematic madness, and that is, in its purest form, what a comic book is and what it should be. Absolutely,
and that's why this has me so excited. I just love, I'm seeing a lot of people going, DC are running out of ideas. Oh my God, they don't know what they're doing. I'm sitting here going, this is class.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that if Marvel were doing it now. Come on, lads, catch yourselves on.
Exactly, and I just think, bring the crazy. Go mad with it.
Exactly. I mean, like what else have you got left to lose,
Yeah, have fun with it, absolutely. And it really seems like AT&T know what they're doing, because as I said with the Batman Beyond story, we're saying AT&T apparently are very, very excited about this. They're the ones that give the go-ahead to the Snyder Cut. I really have faith that they are really embracing this idea that let's have fun with it, let's reach out and see how far we can go with this idea. And they're just going to, at the end of the day, it's all about money for them. Of course it is. And look, we all know it's about money. All these things are lucrative franchises. They're all about the bottom dollar and everything else. As long as we're getting a good product and we're getting what we want, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And more importantly, I want to see people's reactions to this in the chat. Come on, Ryan Reynolds is Green Lantern, yay or nay?
Yay or nay.
That's it.
Now, talking about multiverses and crossovers, this came out of nowhere. I know that you were. I know that this is something that you loved. Last year, he's sitting here right beside me. I bought the Ghostbusters Transformers crossover, the Actotron. I bought the Optimus Prime as well. It was really,
Review
really
available
cool.
now on youtube.com/votesaxon07.
Yes, they have those two crossovers. They have that crossover to two franchises that we grew up with and that we absolutely adore. Was class, of course. Then we had the IDW comic from Eric Burnham and Dan Schoenig, which was great as well. Now we're getting a new tease that Back to the Future is next. They're going to be crossing over with the Transformers. We don't know what that means. We have no hints or tips about what it's going to be, but we got a very similar logo to what we got before, and it's the DeLorean beside the Autobot logo with the big X between it. 35 years of Back to the Future, 2020. It looks like we're getting the same treatment.
I love that you can, again. I love that you can see not Mr. Fusion, the flux capacitor, just in the middle of the X there. That is class. I love that logo.
It's really cool. And do you know what? Do you remember at the end of the Transformers one where Actotron went on to have his own adventures? What if him and the DeLorean Transformer go and have their own adventures?
Stop it.
And they can travel in time.
Stop
and they can do all sorts of things.
No, stop it. Fighting ghosts in 1885 with two Transformers that turn into a DeLorean and an Acto-1. Stop. There's only so much my brain can take. My fragile little mind.
Yeah, I just think this is absolutely class. So the bottom line is that we're probably going to end up putting down big money towards the end of this year on this crossover as well. And personally, I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are really, really excited for Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan, particularly James Perkins, who says Ryan Reynolds was a perfect Hal Jordan. So there you go. You can't improve on perfection. Get Ryan Reynolds back. James Perkins has spoken.
Yep, bit turtle. I'm for it. Ryan Reynolds is great and everything. He's made some terrible movies. He's always fun.
Yeah, he's starring a lot of terrible movies, but he's surely helped them be less terrible.
He certainly has. Right from Van Wilder up.
Easy now.
Yeah, this. But yeah, so I mean, as you said earlier on, 2020 so far has been an absolute nightmare of a year, but it's also been delivering some really, really great stuff while we're in this lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's given us a lot of hope to get through what has been an absolute cluster shambles of a year, like, let's be honest. Like, there's all movies getting the release dates pushed forward again now, and cinemas are starting to reopen as of July 13th over here, I believe. Both Odeon and Omniplex have announced. So, it's looking up. Bill and Ted seems to be hanging on to its release date. Black Widow's been pushed forward. I think Wonder Woman's been pushed forward now as well, which is a movie I am so eager to see. So yeah, like it's looking good for us nerds, and hopefully by the tail end of this year we'll have gotten some nerdy goodness back into our lives.
Absolutely. Right, what do you think? Will we go to another show or will we do another bit of news? What do you think?
Do you know what? We'll take a little break. I don't know about you, Mark, but I want to find out what's going on in the world of comic books. We've been talking about comic books. Let's find out from our comic book expert. Back after this.
Let's just over to Paul.
Good evening, fellow nerds, and welcome once again to my weekly comic roundup. So there's quite a lot to get through this week, so let's get stuck in. First up, a new number one by Boom Studios, Wind. Boom, like I said before, are on a great run at the moment. This is by James Tyrant IV, who's doing amazing work in Batman at the moment. So this is his first outing with Boom, so hopefully that'll be a good series to get into. Next up, Image number one, That Texas Blood. Think Country for Old Men in comic format. Apparently this was originally meant to be a film by James Corden. It took too long for the studios to get their act together, so he's releasing the comic format. Usually the other way about, comic to film, this could go anyway. I've mentioned this before, Year Zero by a new company, AWA. We've only got about 5 or 6 titles out. Each one of them is very good. For the Walking Dead fans out there that need a fix now, this is it. It's only 5 issues long. This is issue 2. Great read, good artwork. Next up, another Image number one. This was released last week. Never got the chance to review it. So it's Adventure Man, even though it's a woman. Artwork in this by Terry Dawson is fantastic. The story alone is like an Indiana Jones kind of theme to it. Great characters in it. This is like triple size issue for the same price, so good money worth there too. Next up, Avengers Empire Zero. This is the build up to Marvel's big event. Another big event, but funny enough, some of the tie-ins and one-shots for this has been cancelled because of the recent comic shortage, shall we say. So it just goes to show you that they mightn't have been as important to the story as they were to put money in Marvel's pocket. Next up, Thor. Danny Kates is in this. He's doing a brilliant job putting Thor back where he should be, fighting cosmic giants and beings. Overall good read, artwork's good series and that. Next up, the hot book at the moment, Batman. This is Batman issue 93. 92 was out last week. Introduced a new villain, Punchline, sold out completely. This is lead up to the Joker War, which is a big story, introducing more new characters. So get on this. There's been a bit of bad press about the cover in the States, because it's a Joker sitting in a cinema with a gun. Yeah. Immortal Hulk by Marvel. Now, it's been announced last week that this is going to end with issue 50. It's only at issue 34 at the moment, so you've got another year and a bit to go. But so far, every issue has been brilliant. Get on this book before it's gone. And last but not least, DC's big one, Dead Metal. This book is just, I've had a quick flick through it, it's just mental. Anything goes. Where it's going to go, I have no idea. I think it's a 6, maybe a 7 issue series. Just read it. It's fun, entertaining, it's what comics should be. And it will put DC back in the market again. So that's my comic round for this week. Just one other thing for Marvel geeks out there. That's all. Okay.
Okay, so there we go. That was the big comic book roundup this week. Knull is coming. Knull.
Okay.
What?
I know. I tell you what, I really like Paul's background. I really like his.
Yeah. Nice. You were bumming and blowing about it there the entire time the video was playing.
Yeah, a lot of Marvel there, Paul. We need to get some Batman.
Yeah. You gotta even out the sides here, man. Come on, you can't look two in the one camp, you know.
I gotta be honest, he's always busting my balls about DC movies, so I think we need to get more DC on that wall. Yeah, so in the chat here, Bromidic Nerd says he fears that if DC focuses on trying to drag too much stuff in, the general audience may see sacrifices. So basically, I think what he's worried is that if they start pulling in too much craziness, that the general audience is going to back off. I don't know. What do you think?
It depends on how it's marketed. Because if there's one movie that I am desperate to see how they're going to market it, it's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Because you know for a fact that is just going to be bonkers. It's going to be pulling in everything from everywhere. And I want to see how they market that. If they market that in a clear and concise way that looks fun and it's got that pop sort of angle to it that Marvel always go for, I think it won't turn a lot of people off. The same thing applies for DC. Market this correctly. Focus on it being big, bombastic. It's still set within the parameters of the universe that has been set up thus far. Like, basically, it would have to get to a point where one of the suits at Warner Brothers just comes on stage with a white background and goes, "Look, lads, and, you know, lad ladies, we've been messing you around for a wee while here, but we've got a plan. This is it, and it's everything. So you want Michael Keaton, you've got Michael Keaton. You want Ryan Reynolds, you've got Ryan Reynolds. You want Ben Affleck back, here he is. You know, like, so as long as they market it in an effective way, I don't think it should prove too much of a problem. Mark, your thoughts on this?
No, well, I tend to agree, and I think that this whole sort of general and gentle introduction of Michael Keaton's Batman would be a very smart idea, because it gently eases people in, and then so whenever you get another Batman, you know, some people will be like, well, hang on, Michael Keaton's back as Batman, but the other people will be like, yeah, I remember he was in The Flash and he was in Wonder Woman, and then do you remember? So I think that's a really, really good idea as well. Mm-hmm. And again, I just think with things like Into the Spider-Verse and, you know, sort of more, as you say, into the Multiverse of Madness, I think fans are good with this now. I think the general audience, they just want to go and have fun. I don't think too many people are thinking anymore, hold on, this isn't Ben Affleck's Batman, this isn't... I think people they just want to go and be entertained. There's the audience that just wants to go and be entertained, and there's the audience that want to follow the whole multiverse and the story and everything else. And I think things, I guess, will cater to both.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at the marketing alone for Into the Spider-Verse, they nailed it. That is genuinely a big reason, I believe, why that movie was as successful as it was. Because it put the focus on Miles Morales, but said, look, it's part of this. Like, Miles Morales is in this universe. The Peter Parker Spider-Man died, yet there's another version of Peter Parker out there. There's a version of Spider-Man played by an animated cartoon pig. There's like a weird, dark 1930s noir Spider-Man out there. So it really knocked it out of the park by showing this in an effective way within the trailer. So as long as the audience has got on board for that movie, which they did in droves, this shouldn't be a problem.
I totally agree. Now, sticking with multiverses and returning characters and all that goodness, over to Marvel this time around, J.K. Simmons has confirmed that there is a plan for J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU, and that he has already filmed another appearance in that role.
Oh, good God, I love that still. Oh, can that be a meme? Please, someone in the comments, make that a meme. Yeah,
what?
The still of J. Jonah Jameson, what he's doing with his hands. But yes, anyway, what do we reckon this is for? The new role that he's filmed for? Do we reckon this is Black Widow? Is it Eternals?
Right. Well, here's the thing. It could be Black Widow, it could be the Eternals, it could be Shang-Chi, because all of those are in various stages of development. It could be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it could be WandaVision, it could be Loki.
Yeah.
Which again are all in various... Or, I personally think it could be Morbius or Venom 2. What's Venom... Let There Be Carnage?
Let There Be Carnage, yeah.
Let There Be Carnage. I think it's Let There Be Carnage. Because remember that J. Jonah Jameson's son... John Jonah Jameson?
Yeah, John Jameson, yeah. My
died.
Son, the astronaut!
Yeah, he died at the start of Venom.
He did, yeah, when the spaceship crashes.
Yeah, so I think it would be an easier way to take him in, and it would also explain why he's so unhinged and so angry whenever we met him in Far From Home.
Yeah, and again, it's another thing that makes complete sense because J. Jonah Jameson is still firmly clutched by the jaws of Sony. So it only makes sense that he would be popping up in a Sony-related product. Same thing with Michael Keaton as Vulture, tying in nicely to what we were talking about earlier tonight. Michael Keaton's just everywhere lately, and good. He should be. He's a Premier League of actors, and he belongs
such a good actor.
in everything. He's like the new Tom Hanks. You'll be sick of him within 5 minutes. It's like, damn, this guy's so good, and he's in everything.
I could never get sick of Michael Keaton. I could never get sick of Michael
I believe the next few years will really put that theory to the test.
Well, look, if he's in Marvel movies and DC movies, then there's not a chance it's going to happen. But yeah, I think there's a good chance that we're going to see him in the Sony universe again. And again, it's that other thread that ties the two universes together. I think I have a funny feeling that they're going to go somewhere with J. Jonah Jameson. I think he's going to have a big story. I think, whether they've established that the Daily Bugle is kind of a, Prison Planet kind of conspiracy website, or whether it becomes the publication that we know it as in the comics down the line, I don't know. But I think that he is going to play a big part in Peter Parker and Spider-Man's story.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, in the original comics, isn't it him that first assembles the Sinister Six?
It is to get Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Isn't that because of his son's death?
Possibly, you'd have to ask a scientist. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, like, reading back through this over the last decade now, the Sinister Six is something that Sony have had a real nerd for. Like, they've really, really been trying to get the Sinister Six off the ground, either in a Spider-Man movie or as their own standalone movie that just so happens to feature Spider-Man. I really, really think, now that they've teamed up with Marvel Studios again, this is the direction we're going to see this go down. The seeds are already planted. Again, with Michael Keaton appearing as Vulture in the Morbius trailer. Like that, and now we've got Venom established, Morbius again, as I said as well. So it's only a matter of time before the Sinister Six come together. They'll need an inciting incident or something that brings them all together. They'll need someone with a lot of pull, a lot of public power and support. J. Jonah Jameson using this dailybugle.net angle in that Alex Jones type way with his big conspiracy theories, I think he's going to get a lot of people behind him. He's going to rile up the public support, and he's going to make the Sinister Six look like they're the heroes. He's going to be like ranting and raving, going like, we need the new Avengers. We need Avengers that work for us, the people, not tech billionaire geniuses and gods from space. We need real American men. And we're going to get these 6 guys together, and they're going to take out Spider-Man.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you know what I think they should do as well? I think they should get him in, work out where the movies are going over the next sort of 4 or 5 movies, get him to film like interviews and slots for TV and stuff like that, and just have a story told in the background of movies.
God, I would love that.
Get to the next Spider-Man or the next Venom, and bang, he's center stage. It's his story. He's been setting it up. Here's the Sinister Six, which he's been threatening to do for the last 4 or 5 movies. If you've been watching those news reports, if you've been listening to what he's been saying on the radio, if you've been seeing the interview, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Just like a viral campaign in the movies.
Yeah, I would kill for that, man. Like, even if, like, with the Marvel pictures, we had those little reports, as you say, in the background. Same thing with the Sony camp, too, if they were doing things like that. It would just be fantastic. Like, an entire broadcast sequence that we only see a clip out of, where he's talking about the history of, isn't it Adrian Toomes is Vulture?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so, like, we have a scene where he's talking about how Adrian Toomes was a decent, honest, working American man, cleaning up the mess left behind by the Avengers after the Battle of New York, struck down by Spider-Man just by trying to be an upstanding businessman, and that's it. That's all you see. But then the next time he's talking about, I don't know who else would be in it, Shocker maybe, Morbius as well. Like, he's just basically, he's defending everyone, and like maybe like they'll have like a little live graphic on the screen, people's tweeting things going like, I agree, this guy just seems like a regular guy just trying to do his job, and this costume freak put him in jail.
Yeah, I think that would be a great way, and it'd also be a great way. Here's an idea, just occurred to me right now. What if J.K. Simmons becomes the new Stan Lee?
Oh, and he just pops up in everything.
Yeah, like the post-credit scene, there he is talking about this new supervillain.
Yeah.
Or, in the background he walks past and he's ranting about, or he's talking about his son's in space and he hasn't seen him in 6 months. Or,
Why have I just got an image in my head of J. Jonah Jameson in the background reading like an alternate newspaper? It's not the Daily Bugle, it's something else. And it's like Spider-Man Saves New York, and he just like takes it, crumples it up in anger, puts it in the bin and goes, trash and lies, and just walks off.
But you know what? I like this idea. Maybe this is the plan for J.K. Simmons. Maybe this is J. Jonah Jameson is going to be sort of the walk-on cameo for the next 5 or 6 movies.
God, I'd love that. Do you know what? Like, the more I think about it, the more this seems the case.
And here's the thing. Come at me.
Come at me, bro.
He is still the single best comic book casting of all time.
I mean, duh. Like, do we have a second best? Perhaps Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man? Who knows?
Yeah,
but
Chris Evans, maybe, Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah.
You could make your arguments, but I don't think anybody could disagree that J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson.
I mean, J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson. He just transcends all genres, doesn't he? Because he looks like J.J. from the comics. He looks like J.J. from any animated cartoon version of Spider-Man that we've ever seen. He acts like him. He looks like him. He's the full package.
I just want him to get his hair back.
I know, that's one thing that I'm really, really missing. The flat top. Aim for the flat top.
I want the flat top. I want the flat top back. Because it kind of threw me a wee bit seeing him at the end of Far From Home.
Yeah, because
with just the bald head.
Because he's supposed to look a bit more Alex Jonesy-esque, I guess. And again, that whole rumor that was going around that they can't fully use the J. Jonah Jameson that we saw in the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, so they had to change up his look a little bit. But aside from that, though, he's still, like, he for the most part, he looks the part. And you know what? Even still, I could see this as the same character. Because, of course, like, it's been years. So naturally, like, with all the stress of trying to run a newspaper, and let's be honest, as Egon Spengler himself once said, print is dead. So, like, he's been stressing about that. He's lost the old head. He's got a bit of an egghead thing going on. So, makes sense.
Does make sense. Space Princess Ari says
Queen!
The flat top.
Yes,
okay.
we missed the flat top indeed.
8-Bit Turtle, Cave Johnson had a kid. He did. He died. Venom killed him. Like the action movie clips in The Simpsons. I don't know what that means.
What?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
anyway,
like McBain! Mendoza! Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. What?
Yes, you are. So J.K. Simmons. So one more. He said there's a future for J. Jonah Jameson after a several-year hiatus. He showed up briefly for those who were wise enough to stay through the credits of Spider-Man Far From Home. He then adds there is one more JJJ appearance in the can, and from what I'm hearing, there's a plan for yet another. So hopefully JJJ will continue now and forever.
J. Jonah Jameson picked a pack of pickled peppers and sold seashells by the seashore.
Yeah. So I listen. Every movie, I don't care, even if it's not a Marvel or DC movie or anything of those things. Just take him in. J.J. Jonah Jameson can exist in any universe.
Yeah, I'm loving what James Perkins said as well. Have Deadpool pop in and bring up the fact that he played JJJ in the Raimi trilogy and ask where Tobey Maguire is.
Yeah, brilliant. That's the kind of madness you can get away with Deadpool.
Yeah, do you know what? Genuinely, I think tonight's show should just be called Multiverse Madness.
Multiverse Madness, yeah, and sticking with multiverses. Yeah. Saxon, this is a wee bit more of your territory.
Okay.
There's plans. Titan Comics have released their first look at Doctor Who Time Lord Victorious, which is the start of a multi-platform adventure, which is going to see. It's going to see Titan Comics, it's going to see Big Finish Audio, the BBC's getting involved, there's going to be toys, there's going to be comics, there's going to be audio adventures, there's going to be TV shows, escape hunts, Eagle Moss Hero Collectors, Immersive Everywhere, Maze Theory, BBC Books, BBC Audio. This is going to be one huge story involving Doctor Who.
Yes, they're going to have everything on a sesame seed bun. Excuse the image of J. Jonah Jameson that's currently on the screen, folks, because I have to change it last minute to the Doctor Who picture. There it goes now. It sounds like a really big event until you really sit and think about it. It's a great money spinner. It's a fantastic money spinner. I mean, Paul McGann, I live, breathe, and die by the sword of Paul McGann. Christopher Eccleston, fantastic to see him back as well. Probably just in comic book form. I'm not sure if he's lending his voice to this for any of the audio dramas. And of course, our boy Tennant, who basically just is the face of Doctor Who these days, as Tom Baker was the face of Doctor Who back in the day. It's the fact that it spans so many different platforms. It just seems like it's one of those things where, like, was this part of the original idea, or did someone come up with this idea and originally wanted to do it as another Big Finish audio drama, and then eventually someone just went, well, hang on a minute, if we take it and we split it up and we put this story here and this story here, so we can make this an audio book, we can make this proper books, we can make this a comic book, so it's just, it's the cynicism in me, really, that makes me go, has this been done this way because the story needs to be told this way, or is this being done this way because the BBC want money?
Well, can't it be a little bit of both?
Probably, yeah. That's probably what it is. But I mean, is it fair on the fans?
Yeah, well, if they do it in such a way that, this kind of goes back to the whole DC comic book and Marvel comic book crossovers where, they span 20 different titles over a year and it's basically like 100 comic books or whatever. And if you miss one vital issue, you've missed a big part of the story. As long as they do it in such a way where you don't have to have every piece of the puzzle.
But see, that's the thing. I think they might do it that way. And of course, comic books are comic books. They cost a set price. An audiobook is a vastly different price to a comic book. And to whatever other various medias that they're going to try and put this on. So that's just my one worry. Like even from how well this does, will that affect it? Where people go, I'm not buying an audiobook, I'll just get the comic book. This is meaningless. I don't understand because I haven't read the audiobook or listened to the audiobook. So I'll leave this be. That's the one thing that's putting me off this at the moment.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to this idea of getting into a fully immersive story. But I can absolutely see the fact where you're about 40 or 50 pound in, and you're like, wait, hold on, this is still just a Doctor Who story.
Yeah, this is chancing it a wee bit here. This is a wee bit of a rip off.
Yeah, but one thing that I will say, and I'm sure you agree in this, is that Big Finish are absolutely killing it with Doctor Who.
Oh man, they're just knocking it about. Doctor Who in general has just been knocking it out of the park during the entire lockdown, like with all the little tweet downs and rewatches of old stories. Like we had Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat joining Twitter just for that. On top of that, Big Finish, all the little stories that they've been releasing too. It's been a really good time to be a Doctor Who fan.
It absolutely has. And I see as well that they've just announced, I posted this story as well and following it out, we may as well talk about it now. One of the Paul McGann's Ninth Doctor adventures, Tom Baker is going to pop up as the curator in it. Which again, because Tom Baker obviously does an awful lot of work with Big Finish, but to have him in now as a second character, and a character who was so mysterious when he popped up in Day of the Doctor, for the 50th anniversary, it's quite inspired, and it actually almost made me buy it.
Yeah, I mean it really is, and it actually makes more sense now when you think about it. When, like, after the way that the last series of Doctor Who on television left things, where it turns out the Doctor is just an immortal god from an alternate reality. Again, multiverse. That's the theme of tonight's show, because it's established that she's the timeless child. She, he, they, whatever pronoun you wish to use, basically they can't die. So whenever we saw Tom Baker as the curator at the end of Day of the Doctor, that was our first little clue. That he can go back, he can revisit some of the old favourites, the old faces that he used to have. So whenever he eventually retires from saving the universe, he becomes the Tom Baker incarnation again and ages out and dies. Or perhaps even regenerates again and goes off and has another life. Who knows? But it's really great to see him come back and play this creator character. It would be really, really nice to see sort of more of that character and more of that angle. Like, what is he doing now that he's retired from saving the universe? Like, does that mean that every wrong has been righted? Is he still... Well, obviously he is. He's still going to have to join up with a previous incarnation in order to stop some sort of universe threat. So, it'll be interesting to see how they play it. Will they have Tom Baker meet Tom Baker? Will the Fourth Doctor meet the curator?
Producer Caleb's just pointing out here that they've got a massive moth that's just flown in.
Goodness me.
I actually have the door open here because it's so warm. It's so warm.
Hello,
There's
Mr.
a really
Moth.
bad thunderstorms tonight. He's beautiful too. Look at him.
Hang on, I'll zoom in.
He's gorgeous.
I'll zoom in. Hang on. It's very, very awkward to zoom in on this streaming software. There he is.
He's so pretty. Look at him. Look at him. His face.
A moth has invaded the studio.
I want to stroke him.
Right. Flick him away there. Go on.
No, he's fine. Leave him be. Leave him be. Leave him be. I know. I completely understand what you mean. This is big news for Doctor Who. It's also, as you say, potentially a huge scam.
Yeah, but then again, what isn't these days,
Exactly. Right, I think, you know what, we have one more little segment to go to, I believe. We have a video game, Gerald from Australia. This is his first ever segment that he's done for us. So he said to apologise. He's an Englishman living in Australia. He's got a really bad cold at the minute, so he said that he apologises because the audio is not 100% in it. But we're actually quite excited to have him on here. He does all our video game news on FTN on followthenerd.com. So let us know what you think. And Saxon, I think we'll play the clip and let's hear what he has to say.
Popping the old FTN live cherry. Here we go.
Hi there everyone, this is your friendly neighbourhood game reviewer, Gerald of Australia, here to bring you the review for the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch. For those of you that haven't played this version before, here's a little bit of a rundown. The game is basically based on this world on which you're playing on two frozen titans, giant beings that were fighting throughout time, and eventually came to a standstill. And they are that big that a world has grown on top of them. You have your human faction, the Homs, who have been at war with the other faction, the Mechonis. These very mechanical-looking beasts that keep popping up throughout the world. And it is your job, as your main character and your crew, to defeat these beings. Now, some of you may know the main character Shulk from his adventures on another game, Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo Switch. And for those of you that haven't played that, I strongly recommend it. Every Smash Bros. Game is brilliant. But we're not here to talk about that right now. So you play mainly as your main character Shulk. However, you can switch the characters in your party to whoever you want as the leader. They will be the person that you play during the battle. Now, the combat system in this is a little bit different from other games that you might have played. When you attack, you don't actually do the attacking per se. Instead, when you enter the combat, your character will attack automatically. It's your job to use his skills in a way that will benefit you and your characters. This may take a little bit of getting used to, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. It really doesn't take that long. Now, the combat pairs beautifully with the incredible graphics that they have upgraded from the original 2010 model on the Nintendo Wii and the 2005 model on the Nintendo 3DS. But I think the thing that sets this game apart from a lot of the others that I've played is the soundtrack. Now, when you're playing games like this, you're expecting a very techno-created backdrop for the game. But that's not what you get with this. The music that has been used has been the music that they used on the 3DS soundtrack, tightened up a little bit. Now, Nintendo themselves have actually done footage of the orchestra doing this. You can look it up, the Xenoblade Chronicles original soundtrack, and you will find footage of the orchestra playing the songs that they used. Now, wrapping up, I love this port. I love the definitive edition, and that, like all Nintendo Switch ports, it brings all the DLC in there with you for free. Which means you can spend weeks, if not months, trying to get through this game, and you won't even scratch the surface. We'll always find new challenges in the world of Bionis, and I challenge you to try it for yourself. This is Gerald of Australia. Stay nerdy, folks.
Xenoblade Chronicles, available now on Nintendo Switch.
Yes, thank you very much, Gerald. And you had nothing to be nervous about. That sounded really, really cool. So hopefully we'll be getting more from him over the next couple of weeks. And if you want to keep up with his news, he is, of course, one of our regular contributors on followingthenerd.com. Let us know in the super chat if you enjoyed that review. And of course, if you want to get involved in anything, keep up to date with these stories as we're going through, and let us know your thoughts, because we really want to hear them.
Yes,
right.
We're getting a lot of moth love here in the chat tonight. So
are we? Yes.
A lot of people saying it's like one of my running gags about the wall spiders. It's jam eating wall moth. It's not. It's a marmalade eating wall moth. There we go. That's the spin off there of the jam eating wall spider. And Bermudic Nerd is calling for the moth to have his own segment.
Give him his own segment. During that review, producer Caleb ran over there and he has a wee sign on there now that says co-host. So
very good.
Yeah. So look at him though. He's a beautiful boy.
Yeah, he's our little mascot here for FTN.
He's our little mascot. Yeah, he's a beautiful boy. Right. Okay. So other big news. Finally, after all these years waiting, almost 20 years, we're getting a sequel to Chicken Run.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. I really like Chicken Run. I never thought I needed to see another one.
I mean, isn't that the story told?
Yeah,
because it was basically The Great Escape, but with Aardman-style stop-motion animated chickens.
Yeah. The good news is that Aardman are back involved again, so it's still their project. Yeah. Netflix as well, along with DreamWorks Animation. Sam Feld, who directed Flushed Away, will be directing the feature along with Steve Pengram, producing, who's worked on stop motion before on the legends that are Wallace and Gromit. They are joined by co-directors Nick Park and Peter Lord, who both worked in the original movie in 2000. Original writer Kay Kirkpatrick will be returning to write the upcoming feature that will pick up almost directly where it left off. If the first title was known to be The Great Escape, the second will be known as The Great Break-In. This will feature the child of Rocky and Ginger, who's becoming rather curious about the outside world, away from the little stretch of paradise. During the time, the chickens hear of something that will endanger their future and the future of all chickens everywhere, and they must do something to stop it. However, the big news is Saxon Mel Gibson will not be returning.
Yeah, I thought Riggs would have done a runner from this project. Yeah, Mel Gibson to me these days doesn't seem very kid friendly. So I was imagining we'll not be seeing him back for this.
Yeah, yeah. Mel Gibson for me, I part of me can't help but still like the guy, but I really, I don't know.
He's a very likable guy. Yeah, it's just the part where he's insane, racist, and sexist.
Apart from those
just apart from those little character flaws, and also the raging alcoholism. But but aside from that, See, again, that's the worst part too. Whenever you're an actor these days, because you're in Hollywood, everyone's very, very super sensitive about everything, as it should be. A lot of horrible shit's happening in Hollywood, but you have to sort of separate the artist from the art, don't you?
Yes.
So, he's a dick in real life, but if he can get his act together and just play a character that's nice, does that make it all right?
I know.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And more importantly, should he be rewarded for being able to do that? For being able to go, okay, well, I'm a horrible, horrible human being, but if I can turn a switch in my head and play a character that's actually nice and likable, should I then be allowed to do that? Should I be allowed to get paid for that? I mean, if anything, right, if he does get a role in a major Hollywood movie ever again, and I mean a huge role, if he donates his salary to a women's shelter or to the Black Lives Matter campaign or something like that, just something to show, look, I'm paying for it. I'm in these big movies, but I'm not earning a cent. Everything I earn is going toward people that I hurt and people that I damaged.
Yeah. I know.
But that's a bit much for a light-hearted live nerd show, isn't it?
No, well, unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the. There's so many movies now that you probably shouldn't like because an actor in it has turned out to be a rather horrible bastard.
I mean, Kevin Spacey's a dick, but we still like House of Cards.
Yeah, and American Beauty is still one of my favorite movies, and
which is ironic too, because he was after a young girl in that movie as well.
I don't think Kevin Spacey.
He wasn't exactly a likable character in American Beauty.
Yeah, I don't think young girls are Kevin Spacey's. I don't think that's his title.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said a younger person.
But yeah, unfortunately, this is the problem with Hollywood: is that there's so many actors out there that have fallen from grace that you don't know who you can like and who you can't like anymore. But Chicken Run.
Yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember that fun, happy movie?
Yeah, I put in the chat here. Who could you get? Thumbs up there, by the way, to Gerald. Who could you get to replace Mel Gibson?
Danny Glover?
No. Surely he's too old for this shit. But who could you get? I mean, does anybody even do a good Mel Gibson impersonation? I don't think.
Tom Hardy, because they used him when they replaced him in Mad Max.
Yeah, don't even bother trying to put on this really accent. Just there's Tom Hardy.
Max. My world is fire and blood. He's getting acting tips from Christian Bale there after doing Bane.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, Chicken Run 20 years later. So it's going to be on Netflix. Yeah. Whatever Aardman does, I'll watch.
I couldn't give a flying clock.
Yo.
Hey, steady now.
Right, another big news, talking about more multiverses and returning actors and actresses and what's going on and who's doing what and everything else. You may recall a few years ago, 2017 to be precise, that Neil Blomkamp came very close to getting a new Alien movie made.
Do you know what?
The movie was set to bring back... Sorry, go ahead.
Do you know what? I was excited for that.
Yes, was I.
That's all I want. That's all I wanted to add to that.
Oh, I took a drink there. I thought I was getting more.
Always the way. I'm just constantly disappointing people with that. They always think they're getting more.
Shut up!
Alright, now you're telling me to stop! Go on! Host the show!
Oh, you're such a pain. The movie was set to bring back Sigourney Weaver and co-star Michael Biehn, and it was set to basically ignore anything that came after James Cameron's iconic Aliens. So it was going to be Alien 3.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of cynicism to that, wasn't there?
I think there was. But then
everyone's kind of done with that now. Because it just keeps failing, where they're like, oh yes, but this movie, this is the true third movie. The first two movies still matter. But everything that came after that's nonsense, and we forget that. And we're just going to overskip that, and now this is the proper third movie. It's failed with Terminator, it's failed with X, Y, and Z franchises now. Like, Terminator's a great example, because that's now happened to Terminator twice. Where they were like, Genesis, that's the true third movie. No, Dark Fate's now the third movie. The next one they make in about 5 or 10 years' time, that'll be the true third movie, you know? So, whenever they heard this...
It was so bad, by the way.
It is god-awful. I genuinely got more enjoyment out of Genesis than I got out of Dark Fate. But anyway...
Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton just looks so bored in that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with that movie, man, don't get me wrong. I came up with a fantastic idea for a Terminator sequel.
Oh, if I say so myself.
I actually did. Basically, right... Skynet's failed, right? Defense Grid smashed and all that. They've sent 2 Terminators back. They know they failed, so they send another one back. But it gets damaged. The chip in its head gets damaged. So instead of going after John Connor or whoever, it just goes ballistic and starts attacking the human race. Like it's walking down motorways, just dropping bombs because it's arrived at a military facility. Meanwhile, another Terminator's been sent back to go after John as well because Skynet realized, oh, this one got messed up. So they've sent another Terminator to aid it. But basically, because that first Terminator is so messed up, it's attacking everything. So it's even attacking the Terminator that's on the same side as it. So that Terminator teams up with John and Sarah to take on this mental Terminator.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I thought that would be great. Just a fun little action romp, you know, just something to keep the Terminator fans ticking.
I just want to see a Terminator movie that's got nothing to do with John Connor or Sarah Connor. I want to see a Terminator movie where he goes back to the Wild West to kill somebody, or he goes back to
the gunslinger.
Yeah, I just want to see that sort of Terminator. You know, cowboys and aliens, kind of only with robots.
I just want to see a Terminator movie that's good again. I mean, even if you can't reach the heights of Terminator 2, at least give us Terminator 1.
I know. Oh, that's controversial. Anyway.
What?
Do you think Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1?
Yeah, I actually do. I really like just in terms of its structure, how it's shot, the acting style. Like I think Terminator 2 it's slightly better than Terminator 1, but not by much. And then there's a massive drop off, and then you get Salvation, and then there's a cavernous, bottomless pit where the rest of them lie.
Yes. Anyway, new Aliens movie.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver has confirmed she has received a 50-page treatment from Walter Hill, who was a producer on the other movies just over a year ago. Unlike Blomkamp's plan, it seems it was going to be basically Alien 5, but Weaver didn't seem too keen on the idea, saying that she said to Empire magazine, "I don't know, Ripley has gone a different direction. Maybe she's done her bit. She deserves the rest." However, Hill has now supplied an image of the script for Alien 5, which is dated March 13th, 2020. And is co-written by fellow franchise producer screenwriter David Geiler, which means it was ready to rock just before all this lockdown madness. However, Hill also seems to suggest that Sigourney Weaver has been much more involved than she's taken credit for. He says Sigourney has been with us from the very beginning, is being a little too honest about her proven ability, or too modest about her proven ability to pull off the idea, which is to tell a story that scares the pants off your date, kicks the ass off a new xenomorph, and conducts a meditation of both the universe of the Alien franchise and the destiny of the character of Lieutenant Ellen Ripley. It's interesting because we know as well that Ridley Scott is trying to get another Prometheus movie up and running. You know what? Yeah, no. Oh god, that last one. What was that last one called? Alien.
Load of balls. Covenant.
Covenant. Oh my god, it was so bad.
Man, it was ridiculous. I mean,
so bad.
Like Prometheus, I wasn't a big fan of. So that was all right. But I mean, I didn't overly like it. But they even made a balls of the continuity of that in Covenant.
Yeah.
I don't even have the time or the energy to sit here and talk about how much I just detested Alien Covenant. But in terms of this Alien 5 idea, so I take it this is the plan is still in place. This overwrites Alien 3 and 4.
No, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem to, because the script...
they get back to Earth at the end of Resurrection, don't they? Her and Winona Ryder.
Oh, I can't remember.
They do, like, because they land on Earth and it's completely destroyed. So, like, where do you go next?
Well, this one, if you go to followthenerd.com, you'll see it there. This one is clearly labelled Alien 5, and it says, "In space, no one can hear you dream."
Oh, God. So it's a mix. It's a crossover with Freddy Krueger.
So, I don't know. But no, it looks like...
Aliens versus Krueger, Requiem.
Yes, please.
For a dream.
So it looks like this is a planned 5th movie.
Oh, come on, that was clever. Do you think that was clever?
Yeah, sure.
Aliens versus Krueger, Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah, good.
Come on. That's clever wordplay. You have to acknowledge clever wordplay, especially when it's so spontaneous as this.
Oh, it was so good.
Thank you.
It was so
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah. Okay, you feel okay now?
Yeah, I'm back to
Is it time to let these franchise... Is the Alien franchise kind of like the RoboCop franchise and the Predator franchise and even the Terminator franchise, where you think to yourself, in your head, it's this franchise that has spanned 30 years and it's brilliant and it's amazing, but when you look at it, there's actually only 1 or 2 really good movies?
Yeah, because like the worst part about it is the story's told. Like you can only get so much mileage out of Terminator, as we've blatantly seen. There's only so much mileage you can get out of Alien, where it's just not exciting anymore. The reason why the first Alien worked so well is because we didn't know what was in that egg. We didn't know what that facehugger was doing to John Hurt. We didn't know what happened whenever his chest explodes and a little baby alien shoots out of it, and then the whole reveal with Ash and the fact that he's an android and all this stuff. It was new, it was brilliant, and it engaged people. Aliens took that to a whole new level, and it just made it bigger. And it was brilliant, and it introduced some really amazing characters. Vasquez is one of my all-time favourite female characters, bar maybe Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor, or even Ellen Ripley herself. But aside from that, then we get to Alien 3, and it seems like there's no proper third act here in any of this. Like, all you can do, same with Terminator. The first one was a fairly confined, fairly small story. The second one, all they did was make it bigger. Same thing with Die Hard as well. I love Die Hard with a vengeance, but then after that, it's just, what? But
I really like the good Die Hard, though, I gotta be honest.
You're what?
No. Which one? What was the 4th one?
4.0.
4.0.
Live for your Die Hard. No, A Good Day to Die Hard is a cinematic abortion. Sorry, it is awful.
It's a horrendous movie. That's the one with the sun.
Yeah, it's not even good by regular movie standards, let alone a Die Hard movie standard.
It's horrendous.
Yeah, made by the same people that made X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, are you kidding me? But yeah, there's only so much mileage that these characters can have. Same thing applies with RoboCop. And even when they tried to reboot RoboCop, for as alright as it was, it wasn't RoboCop. Yeah. So I think it's time to sort of let these old franchises die. They've said their piece. They've said all they can say. If you can, and if you've thought of a new original idea that you can bring to this, and something that'll wrap it up, don't do this whole nonsense. And this is where Terminator went wrong. Where they were like, oh, no. This is the first part in a brand new trilogy. And this is part 1. And if this does well, then we'll do part 2 and part 3. Well then, if that's the case, make a self-contained story that you can expand elements of in potential sequels. Don't leave proper hanging threads there that aren't going to lead anywhere.
Cliffhangers everywhere.
It's tell one complete story that wraps everything up, and then put it to bed. Start making up new ideas. Like, it's the same old argument that we've had 1,000,001 times now, where it's like, stop rebooting Hollywood products. Stop recycling. Stop making sequels. Make something new. Can you imagine in 1979 if this was the mentality? And a script lands on some producer's desk, and it's called Alien. And they go, well, no, because we're rebooting The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for the 6 millionth time.
Yeah. My fear is, and this has happened to me to a certain extent with Star Wars, the last 2 Star Wars movies have kind of tainted my whole outlook on the whole franchise.
Yeah, kind of the same here. Like, had it not been for The Mandalorian, I think I'd be done with Star Wars.
Yeah, I do too. Especially the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was so horrendous that it actually kind of made me lose interest in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's an absolute ridiculous movie. But again, that's the worst thing too, because that had no sense of direction to it at all. When J.J. Abrams took over the reins for Episode 7, he left script treatments for 8 and 9. So there would have been a connecting rod between all 3 movies, that all they had to do was follow that plot along, add to it, add components onto it, make your own movie, yes, absolutely, but keep those threads running the whole way through from 7 to 9. That's all you had to do. Like, for me, after seeing that absolute shambles that was The Last Jedi, and the cluster shambles that was The Last Jedi, and then the further shambles that was Rise of Skywalker, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Star Wars is and always will be 4, 5, and 6. And then the prequels and the sequel trilogy, they're little bolt-on components. You can add them if you want, you can take them away if you want. Ultimately, they don't do anything. Like, I mean, if you were going to do a sequel trilogy, it really should have been something that expanded on what we saw in 4, 5, and 6. But it wasn't. It was just a rehash. It was a cheap, lousy rehash and a cash grab and a way for Disney just to get their money. And they succeeded. Meanwhile, look at what's happening on Disney Plus with The Mandalorian. They're taking something that was just lightly touched upon in the original trilogy, and they're expanding it. The culture of the Mandalorians, of Mandalore itself, and of the actual religion of the Mandalorians and the bounty hunters, Beskar and everything like that. They're adding on just little components like here's a baby from Yoda's species. So are they all Force sensitive? Is it just Yoda that was Force sensitive? No, because now we've seen the child, baby Yoda, you know. So that is something that I approve of whenever it comes to keeping these decades-old franchises going. Take something small and tiny that was just a throwaway line or something that was referenced that caught fans' attention, and build upon that. That's where you'll get something truly spectacular.
Quick segue to that. Finish watching Star Wars Galaxy, or is that what it's called? Star Wars Galaxy, The Mandalorian, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Star Wars Disney Gallery, Star Wars Gallery.
Disney Gallery, something like that.
The behind-the-scenes thing for The Mandalorian.
Fascinating watch.
Yes. Truly from start to finish.
Absolutely. A couple of things jumped out of whenever I was watching it. A couple of things jumped out at me. Firstly is the love for the whole franchise and how these guys are picking up on characters like IG-88 and, you know, the stormtroopers that popped up in The Force Unleashed. Little bits of the mythology that nobody has the Ognots. And
there were two parts that just jumped out at me. I think it was in the final episode that just went out there on Disney+. One is the fact that IG-88 is made using reconstituted parts from the old Cantina set from A New Hope. And they actually zoom in on the part that's IG-88's head, which is insane. And second of all, was the Stormtrooper carrier that we see in the final episode of The Mandalorian, wherever they all show up. That's the old toy. Yeah. I never even realised that was never in 4, 5, and 6.
I know. The other thing that really jumped out at me, and I don't know if you noticed this, but did you notice Kathleen Kennedy was in a lot of the episodes, but was really just like, oh, by the way, Kathleen Kennedy's here.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it's the fact is, right, do you know when you were in school and you had your group of friends around you, and someone from the outside came over and tried to pretend like they were part of your clique? Mm-hmm. That's what she was like.
yeah.
Like,
who's this guy?
Like everyone's got like what the hell's it like? Like, good example. I can't think of one off the top of my head from recent media, but it's like you're all sitting around talking, and like you make a joke and everyone laughs. She's the last to laugh, and then when she says something, there's like this awkward silence where everyone goes, "Yeah." So anyway, baby.
Anyway, yeah. It's so awkward. It's almost as if they kept it in just to take the piss out of her.
Yeah, I mean, I have never, ever seen someone that's in charge of an entire production studio. Because, like, she's the head of Lucasfilm. She's greenlighting all this stuff. And, like, she's sitting there just being dissed, sand kicked in her face every single time she opens her mouth. Like, she is genuinely treated like she's an idiot. Like, everything she says, like, now, like, let's be honest and break this down. Kathleen Kennedy was there at the beginning. She's been there for the likes of Star Wars and Indiana Jones and anything that Lucasfilm have produced. She's been a part of it. Anything that Amblin Entertainment have been involved in as well, she's been there. So then you get her in a room with all these guys who grew up, just like yourself, just like myself, playing with the toys in the living room rug. I think it was Dave Filoni's story, where he was talking about, like, oh, my older brother took all the cool toys, so I had to play with the Ugnaughts on the living room carpet. And I was like,
yeah,
I get that! Oh my god, you're one of us! So, like, these guys live and breathe Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy is a woman that just sits there and signs the checks. And signs off on things, and that's it. She doesn't know the lore, she doesn't appreciate it, through no fault of her own, because for her it's just a business. It's not something that she's overly involved with. So then, on top of that, whenever these guys are sitting talking about, like, oh yes, when we were building IG-11, these are the parameters that we had to have, and this is the way we made it move, she'll say something that just makes her look like an idiot in a room full of geniuses. Like she really does. Like, it's like going up to Stephen Hawking and saying, "Did you know that 2 + 2 = 4?" So, like, no wonder they treat her with this sense of, oh God, just please be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just there to sign the checks. You don't know anything about this.
It was so awkward. I actually felt really bad for her because, like, there's episodes where she doesn't speak at all. The camera shows, oh look, there's Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, and it cuts to her, and she's like,
yeah, stuck in with nodding Kathleen.
No, she's like this, and then it cuts away.
That's her whole contribution. Yeah. I know, unreal.
I agree with your point, but I don't understand a word of it.
Yeah. Second with Star Wars. It looks like we might be getting a sequel. Now, we know. The rumour is that we're getting a sequel to Star Wars Rebels, which is due out sometime this year. Although it's so far only been dribs and drabs of information. It looks like it's going to focus on, at the end of Star Wars Rebels, Ezra and Grand Admiral Thrawn vanished without trace.
Yeah.
It's going to pick up their story, what happened to them. Now we're hearing that we might be getting a sequel series, or more of a spin-off series from the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars is over. And in the Clone Wars, that period of time has ended. Yeah. So the rumour is that we're going to be getting a series focusing on the Bad Batch, the gang of defective clones that we met in the most recent season.
Oh yeah, is that the ones that were set up throughout, like, the first 3 pointless episodes of Series 7 of Clone Wars?
Yeah, which really had me worrying that what are we watching here, and then thankfully it delivered in absolute spades in the last 4 or 5 episodes. So it might be focusing on them. We may see Ahsoka and Captain Rex, what happened to them after the Clone Wars, everything that happened in that final episode, which, by the way, is still one of my favourite Star Wars moments.
God, it's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's so good. The thing about it is, though, that Dave Filoni seems like he has said he is done with the Clone Wars. He's done with that. So this, reading between the lines, it could be that they're going to do this series without Dave Filoni involved. Thing is, Dave Filoni's working on The Mandalorian. He's worked on Clone Wars. He's worked on Rebels. So we're going to eventually have to get Star Wars now that he's not working on.
One of my favourite memes that I saw going around in the last couple of months that wasn't to do with the Rona was it was like a Scooby-Doo meme. And it was the entire Scooby gang had, like, a villain tied to a chair, and Fred goes, "Okay, let's see who you really are." And the guy's face mask is the Mandalorian. And he lifts the Mandalorian's face mask off and it just says Clone Wars Season 8.
Yeah. So yeah, look, here's the thing. I gotta be honest with you. I don't really care about a series based around the Bad Batch.
No, I couldn't give a monkeys, man. It makes more sense now why the hell they focused on these characters at the start of the Clone Wars 7. If they're basically, so that was their pilot episode. And if that's the case, nah, I ain't watching.
Yeah.
Just you take your drink of blue milk there. We'll
yeah,
wait.
my throat felt like it was going to close up.
It's so bloody warm.
It's so warm. The Bad Batch, I know they've got a really big fan following because I've seen the comments on this and I've been watching people talking about it and everything else, and I know they've got a huge. I just don't care. It didn't grab me. I kind of was involved somewhat in Echo's story. This clone that Rex thought he had lost, and then he went and he rescued him, and Could they trust him? Could they not? I kind of like that aspect of it. I like the idea that there is this batch of sort of, badly made clones, basically, that turn out to be their own thing and actually pretty damn good at their jobs. I like that idea. I just don't know if I want to watch 22 episodes of it.
No, I definitely don't. I really, really don't. It's not something that engaged me. It's not something that attracts me. Then again, I said the same thing about The Mandalorian when I first saw the set photos from it, but I think that's a different story. Because, it's not like we had another live-action Star Wars TV series where The Mandalorian debuted. And everyone was like, oh, hey, do you know that really big, awesome story that you were waiting years for us to finally tell? Yeah, we're going to put that on hold for about 3 or 4 episodes while we tell a story about The Mandalorian. So, they've rubbed me up the wrong way. I'm not a fan of them. I'm not interested in seeing what they're about. As far as I'm concerned, the Clone Wars story has been told. It's been told across 7 seasons of, for the most part, a spectacular television show for both kids and adults. And for me, we've finally seen Order 66. We saw what happened with Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex whenever Order 66 went down. We saw a brief glimpse of the aftermath of that. That's all we needed. That's it, done. That's that chapter of the Star Wars universe. Closed, bolted, locked, move on.
Yeah, to me, the Bad Batch are more a bunch of characters that come in and out of other people's stories rather than other people come in and out of their story. So I don't know, but you know what? As you say, it could come to it that the show could come out. It could be brilliant. I completely am open to the idea that it'll completely engross me. But I don't know. I just finished watching that other Star Wars series, Star Wars Resistance. Did you watch any of it?
Again, it's another one that didn't really grab me. It looked very Disney-fied. It looked very child-friendly as opposed to something that could grab all audiences.
Yeah, the first season wasn't bad. The second season was horrendous.
Oh.
It was just there was no point to it at all. They were in the ship. Every episode they were being chased. They got away. They were being chased. They got away. They were being chased. They got away. And then in the last 2 episodes, they decided to fight back. And that was essentially the whole series.
I dodged a laser blast with that one, huh?
You did dodge a laser blast with that one. So that to be honest with you was So as long as they can keep this thing closer to Clone Wars and Rebels. Even Rebels, to be honest with you, lost me a wee bit in the last series. I just sort of stopped caring a wee bit in the last series.
Rebels really lost me. Clone Wars I dipped in and out of, I'll be honest, because it was a show, when it was good, it was spectacular, but when it was bad, you could really tell, because it had such dizzying highs and such worrying lows. It kept toying with me and throwing me about. You have an episode that's brilliant, followed by an episode that's just filler and just clunky as all good holy hell. But I still judge that as this is one of the best Star Wars projects that we have. So I based my enjoyment of Clone Wars against other things. That's now been usurped by The Mandalorian. Can you do better than The Mandalorian now is my big question.
Yeah, well, hopefully season 2, but I know what you mean. I can't see anything at the minute being better than The Mandalorian. I'm actually going to go back and start watching it again. Right, in other news, not related to The Mandalorian or Star Wars in any shape, size, or form. It seems that Stephen King has an idea for Jason Voorhees' Friday the 13th novel.
Oh, wonderful.
The writer, now whether, I don't think he's actually going to write it, but what he said on Twitter was, the best novel idea I never wrote and probably never will is I, Jason, the first person narrative of Jason Voorhees and his hellish fate killed over and over again at Camp Crystal Lake. What a hellish existential fate. Yeah, you know what? I love Stephen King. Still to this day, I'm reading his stuff. Yeah. He's still putting out really, really great material. Give him a character. I would love to see how he would deal with an established schlocky character like Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, because Stephen King is basically the master of horror at this point. Anything he turns his hand to, I've really been invested in. One of my all-time favorite TV shows was Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes. If you ever saw that.
Did I see Nightmares? I didn't. I've read the book, but I didn't see the TV series.
The first episode is about a guy that works for a toy company, and then it turns out that all the little toy soldiers that he made came to life and were dropped off at his house, and then they start attacking him. So it's all these little plastic green army men all attacking him with real little miniature guns and stuff. And it turns into a Gulliver's Travels type thing. It's brilliant. I absolutely love.
I must have watched that then.
I absolutely adore Nightmares and Dreamscapes. It would be really fascinating to see him take on this type of role, as you were saying, especially writing for such a slocky character as Jason. Even James Perkins in the chat there is screaming for Jason versus Predator, which Stephen King writing that alone would be enough to set the chill up your spine. But Stephen King, I love his word use, his lexicon whenever it comes to writing anything. His descriptions of horrific events really, really appeal to me, and they're so visceral and real. Yeah. So to see him turn on to something like Jason Voorhees, the mindset of this immortal supernatural killer, the mother issues that he has too. The only difference is it would be basically Jason Voorhees attacks a town in Maine. That would basically be the big premise of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I love this thing as well. People are always like, oh my God, you know, Joss Whedon is the master of killing characters. Game of Thrones is the master TV show. And I'm like, bitch, please. I grew up reading Stephen King. You know, I felt like these characters were my brother.
Yeah.
And then he just, you know, one of them got their face peeled off and one was turned into a meat grinder or whatever. King was just a master.
But the thing is, that's what King understands that so few people do these days. If you want a shocking, horrible death, you don't focus on the blood and gore. You don't focus on the character, you focus on both. If you have a really well-written character, to the point where, like, you know Jack Torrance inside and out by the time you've read The Shining. Because it's such a big, thick book, and it goes into everything, every little detail, every nook and cranny of the character. So, whatever happens to Jack Torrance at the end of the movie when the boiler explodes, you feel that. That's a gut punch. Yeah. So.
In the fourth Dark Tower book, The Wolves of the Kala, there's a character that gets killed, and I'm not getting into it because if you haven't read the Dark Tower series of books, please go and read them now. Producer Caleb, are you listening to me? The fourth book, there's a death in the fourth book, and I first read it when that book came out, so I read it 25 years ago, and to this day, it still is with me.
Deary me.
And that is the mastery of Stephen King.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, there's Stephen King and Michael Crichton. Those are the two masters of just visceral, horrible deaths that will haunt you for decades to come.
Yep, I completely agree. Now, we spoke there briefly about Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin has confirmed that the next Game of Thrones book, nope, not be this year, next year.
Well, see, that's the thing. He's trying to distance himself from that horrible HBO series finale. He's trying to get himself away from that as much as possible. Because, I mean, like, the fella's in lockdown. I'm sure he's got a typewriter, if not a computer, sitting about. Like, he could be bashing that out in his MacBook.
He says that he is. I mean, here's the full quote. You know, he says, I finished a new chapter yesterday, another one 3 days ago, another one the previous week. But no, this doesn't mean the book will be finished tomorrow or published next week. It's going to be a huge book, and I still have a long way to go. The writer reassures the fans that he's spending time with the characters, but alas, he just can't write as fast as he once did. He is 71 after all, but he's still doing the work. Of late, I've been visiting Cersei, Aisha, Tyrion, Sir Barristan, and Uriel Hota. He goes on, I'll be dropping back into Bravos next week. I've had bad days which get me down and good days which lift me up, but all in all, I'm pleased with the way things are going. Blah, blah, blah. I was deep in the writing of Storm of Swords. I was averaging about 150 pages of manuscript a month. I fear I will never recapture that pace again. Looking back, I am not sure how I did it then. The first book came out in 1999. People have been hanging on now 21 years for this.
And everyone's still giving J.K. Rowling grief, like. I mean, come on.
I know.
But
I haven't read Game of Thrones, but I'm going to wait until he finishes the story before I read it.
Yeah, I think that's probably a very sensible idea. Because at what point did the Game of Thrones TV show divulge from the books, or diverge from the books? I think it was about season 7, wasn't it?
No, it was sooner than that. It was by season 4, I think.
Was it?
So it started going away from the books. Yeah.
Goodness me. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
For some reason I had it in my head it was like season 6 or 7. But yeah, you can't rush art, as the old saying goes. And when you do, you get how Game of Thrones season 8 wrapped up. So, fair play to the man, as he so rightfully said, he's 71 years of age. The old fingers are seizing up, you know, like he can't type as quickly as he used to. I think... Do you think that maybe George R.R. Martin is just kind of sick of Game of Thrones now?
Yes.
Like he's just... Like that's the impression that I'm getting. It's been bastardized on television. It's all people talk to him about. I know for a fact, like being a creative person myself, and in no way in any universe would I ever compare myself to George R.R. Martin. But like even in terms of being a YouTube content creator, like I love making videos about this, that, and the other. I mean, like for example, like I'm currently pulling the strings for this live stream at the moment, but my inbox is just flooded with one thing: Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, and it really burns you out on it. So especially whenever you've got like little twatty nerds like us that are like tweeting him and going like, "Come on, George, where's the book? Like, come on, we want the next chapter, we want the next chapter." The more times that people do that, and the more times that he turns on the news or looks at Google on his phone first thing in the morning and sees like George R.R. Martin says that the new book won't be out until next year, and all the comments are just people going, "Oh, come on, we want to read it now. We've got a bad taste in our mouths after that HBO season finale. Come on, we need the next book. We need the next book." Do you think he looks at all that and just goes, "I can't be bothered writing today"? And that's one of the bad days that he was talking about.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think he's more reflecting on the lockdown, is like it is with so many of us, is having good days and bad days.
Yeah, but I mean, like even on top of that, like you're in lockdown, you're trapped in your own house, but then on top of that, you're trapped in your own head, and you're trying to be creative and expressive. You can't go outside and go for a nice long walk in a country lane and collect your thoughts and go, "Oh well, I've got this idea and this has got together." Like whenever you get writer's block, like that's a serious thing, and you need to do something to jog the old brain cells again. And it's not being under lockdown that does it. Like locking yourself away and it just cuts the flow of creativity.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Right, a couple of stories that we didn't get to followthenerd.com yet, but I will be writing up tonight or tomorrow. Dan Aykroyd has said that Harold Ramis will be honourably represented and lovingly represented in Ghostbusters Afterlife. I still have a funny feeling that the whole story is going to revolve around Egon, and that we may even get some sort of nod to a spectral Egon at some point in this movie.
Oh, you mean we won't see a golden bust of his head for 3/4 of a second on screen?
Yeah, I think we'll get Egon will embrace Ray or something for a moment at the end of the movie. I think we'll get something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even voiced by Maurice LaMarche.
Yeah, oh that'd be great actually. Yeah, that'd be very good. But yeah, I think so, because I remember, do you remember a while ago, and I think I sent you at the time, I can't remember the name of the actor, an actor has been cast in an unnamed role, and when they put a side by side of him and Harold Ramis, when he was kind of in his 30s, the two of them were almost identical.
Yeah, I remember that. And on top of that as well, it again gives credit to it, but it also takes a little bit of credit away from it, where whenever the first image was released to the cast of Ghostbusters Afterlife, remember that one? It was Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman, Carrie Coon, and your wee girl from Captain Marvel, forget her name, and Finn Wolfhard. They were going like, "She looks like Egon. That kid looks like Egon. This is Egon's family." And then there was that raging debate where everyone was going, "Oh no, it's not, because like the timeline doesn't match up," and blah 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 blah. And then it turns out, oh no, it is. It's Spengler's family. My granddad died. He left us this creepy old house out in the middle of the six, So more than likely, this is going to be a case of like, it looks like a stick, so it must be a stick.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I really, I mean, it needs to revolve around Egon, and it needs to explain what happened to him, and then it needs to leave it and move on. And I really hope that that's what this movie does. And again, this is what you were talking about earlier on. I know we talked on the live show about the Ghostbuster TV series and everything else, and about will we see a cliffhanger and stuff at the end of this? Will there be a post-credit scene or everything else? I kind of hope it just ends.
Yeah, no,
so
that's...
that the next movie that comes out, they can worry about that then.
Yeah.
But this is the end of that story that started in 1984.
No, that's exactly what I said on that live stream the other night. Don't leave anything hanging. Let this be the wrap up. It's also very fitting as well that we heard the story a little while ago that the studio were pushing to have this be called Ghostbusters 3. And Jason Reitman stood his ground and said, "It's called Afterlife. Call it Ghostbusters Afterlife." So I think if he pushed to have the movie called that, its international title is Ghostbusters Legacy. So I think Egon is going to have a big, big part in this movie. His presence is going to be felt all the way through the DNA of this movie.
So you think the Afterlife, I sort of took the Afterlife as being a hint to the fact that they're retired and everything else. You think the Afterlife is the fact that Egon has moved on?
I think it works on multiple levels.
Okay.
I think
I mean, that makes sense.
It works on the level that, Ghostbusters as a business has moved on. The actual Ghostbusters have moved on. Harold Ramis, as Egon Spengler, has passed away. He's moved on to the literal afterlife. And again, it's and the core focus of the movie is about a family. Clearly, there's no dad in the picture, so and they've been kicked out of their house because they can't pay the rent. So they've had to leave that life behind and move to this random country town in the middle of nowhere. So the name Afterlife has huge connotations for this movie in multiple ways.
Yeah, no, I that makes sense. And I like that idea that it works on different levels. Other quick bits of news: Netflix has confirmed Lucifer Season 6 will be the last season. I have to be honest with you, I still haven't watched Lucifer. I'm hearing great things. I enjoyed his cameo in Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Yeah.
And I like that at this stage they have given it a final season and it's been like, right, wrap it up in this season. I like that as well.
No, again, it's just something that I've never gotten into. But much like yourself, I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, it's on my definite to watch list. A show that I actually am quite excited for is Netflix. They're releasing Transformers: War for Cybertron trilogy of series. It's a TV trilogy. The first chapter being Siege. It's been given a new release date because things were held up with that damn virus and everything else. It's been given a new release date of 30th of July. The trailer and all looks really good. More animated Transformers. I'm in.
Yep, definitely. Netflix have proven themselves to be a fantastic show whenever it comes to animated series. Transformers has such a rich, deep history that you can just mine for decades, especially if you've got a really great writing staff on board as well. And it's something that I'm definitely all guns blazing for.
Do you know what has me quite excited about this? And if I was a kid, and I do still pick up a lot of Transformers stuff from now and again, but if I was a kid, this would really, really, really have me excited. They are actually using the models of the toys for the animation.
No way. 3D scanned.
Yes, they're the actual. So whatever figure that you buy in Smith's or wherever you buy your toys, that is exactly the same that you're going to see in this series, and I love that.
Oh, I would have killed for that as a kid. Could you imagine?
Do you remember, you buy the toy and it's like, this is nothing like what he looked like in the cartoon.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker's been hitting the gym.
Yeah. But even the Transformers, I know I'm a lot older than you, but I was there in '84 when Transformers first came out, and I was really big into it. But the toys never looked like they looked in the series, and it always annoyed me. I have an affection for those toys now, I really, really do. But at the time, it was like, why does Ratchet not have a head?
I mean, I grew up with parents that were slightly older. So I ended up going to a lot of car boot sales and church fairs and things like that. And I picked up a lot of 80s toys when I was a kid with my pocket money. Because I didn't get a lot of pocket money, so I couldn't just run to the toy shops and buy something new. Like, I had to beg, borrow, and steal just to get an Extreme Ghostbusters figure. So I grew up with, my little real Ghostbusters Ray Stans figure. I grew up with my Transformers. I grew up with Mask figures as well. Mobile Armored Strike Command. And then after that, I used to buy old VHS cassettes of real Ghostbusters episodes and different bits and pieces like that were just even just taped off TV. Like you just bought old VHS cassettes, like an entire box for £1, and you would get I remember I got a Beatles documentary and the James Bond movie Goldfinger for 25p each. And I just grew up watching all this weird stuff from the past and playing with old toys from the past. So, with Transformers, again, it's something that I pretty much grew up with. I remember I had a little Optimus Prime, and it was all scratched and battered to pieces and stuff like that. But I remember transforming, going he doesn't transform like this in the cartoon. Why is he hollow?
No. Harvey Clark wrote here, Soundwave superior, everything else inferior. Yes, still to this day. Every line of toys I've bought a Soundwave because he is absolutely my favourite Transformer.
I do love me some Soundwave. I mean, it was we were actually talking about this on me and Anthony's live stream last night. What did you call the little cassette tape when he went eject?
There was loads. There was the Ravage was the dog.
Ravage.
Laserbeak was Laserbeak was the eagle, and then Rumble and what was the other guy? They were the ones that looked like men. Rumble and let us know in the chat if anybody knows. what the other one was called.
No, it was Ravage.
So,
It was Ravage was the one I was thinking of because I didn't have an official one. I had one of those rip-off ones. You know, you get the little seaside holiday stores.
Yeah.
You go in, this is all these like little crappy rip-off toys. Like I got a little Ravage. It was literally just. It looked like a proper orange cassette tape, and like you could open it up, and there was the head and the tail popped out, and the legs sprang down from the bottom and stuff. And I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And my dad was like, "Let me go on. What's on the cassette tape?" And I went, "It's a toy." And he went, "What do you mean?" And I like transformed it and turned it into a dog. And I went, "Look," and he went, "Is that all it does?" It blew my mind because I was like, "But it's two things." And he went, "Aye, but you can't play that cassette tape. Sure, that's wrecked. Turns into a dog."
Harvey's given us the names here. He's given us Ravage, Laserbeak, and Rumble. And yeah, the other one.
Keep going, Harvey. God. Harvey, come on. You're our saving grace here.
Yeah, come on. Google it. Come on.
Other one. He doesn't know.
I know. Other one. What the hell? Cobra Kai. Have you watched Cobra Kai?
I haven't, but I've heard really great things. That's the Karate Kid spin-off.
The Karate Kid spin-off. Apparently, it's absolutely brilliant. Now, Netflix gave season 3 the go-ahead and told them that there would. YouTube gave season 3 the go-ahead and told them that there wouldn't be a season 4. So the creators have now taken it to Netflix. So Netflix will be screening season 3, and it looks like Netflix will also be financing future seasons. I haven't watched it. I absolutely am going to watch it. The reason I haven't watched it is because I want to watch Karate Kid with my kids and then watch the series.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really excited for this. And from what I hear, it's absolutely brilliant. I don't know anybody that doesn't love this.
Yeah, like I've heard a lot of people bubbling and blowing about it. I think that's the one reason why I haven't sat down and watched it is because it's one of those YouTube Red exclusives. That's like, I've just started paying for Disney Plus. I have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime. Like, if it was on any one of those big three, yeah, I'll watch that. But it's just the fact that it's yet another thing that I'd have to pay for.
Frenzy, 8-bit turtle, Frenzy. Thank you very much.
Frenzy. Doi.
Yeah, Frenzy. Why could I not remember that? The trailer has dropped for Isaac Asimov's Foundation, which is going to be released by Apple TV. Have you watched this trailer?
No, I haven't.
Oh, watch it. It basically looks like Dune. It looks fantastic. It's just so beautiful looking. It has a really, really good cast as well. Jared Harris is in it, Lee Pace, Lou Lavelle, Leah Harvey, Laura Byrne. It's got a really, really good cast. It looks class, and it's based on the series of books Foundation, which is what Star Wars came from, and all your big space dramas. Everything came from Isaac Asimov's books. So this looks absolutely brilliant.
Wonderful. I mean, I do love about Jared Harris. Like, I mean, he's been brutally underused in the last couple of years.
He has, and he's absolutely great. What else? Did you watch the Kingsman trailer?
Yes, I have. Kingsman is not something that I've ever really been involved in. Because I remember you and me went to see the first one in the cinema, and we walked out of it going, it was alright, like, you know. The second one just felt a bit too bombastic for me.
Yeah, I didn't like the second one. I thought the second one was a mess. I watched the first one. It was on TV one night, and my wife was watching the first few minutes of it, and I sat down and watched it. And do you know what? I actually had a real blast with it, and she loved it as well, so I'm going to give the second one another shot. But I still have hope for the franchise. This looks like fun. It could be something worth watching.
Yeah, because this is World War I sort of period, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's got Ralph Fiennes and stuff in it.
Yeah,
so,
I do like Ralph Fiennes.
Look definitely like a bit of Ralph Fiennes. This is one that mightn't be too big a news for you, but for me personally, as a bigger comic book fan, in the 90s, Evan Dorkin worked for Marvel Comics, and he did a Bill and Ted comic book series. It was a limited 12 edition run. He did the adaptation. He wrote and illustrated the adaptation of Bogus Journey, and then he gave him the old series. I absolutely loved it. He's coming back. He's been hired by Dark Horse Comics, who now own the Bill and Ted license, to write the official prequel called Bill and Ted Are Doomed, which is the prequel to Bill and Ted Face the Music. Again, this is something that I'm actually really, really excited for, because I adored Dorkin's work in the 90s, so I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, it's not something that I've come across myself, but if you're saying this is great, also Bill and Ted Are Doomed, like, it sounds like the perfect little story to bridge the gap between Bogus Journey and today. Most importantly of all, one thing I want to talk about, just as a quick little sideline with Bill and Ted. Will they address the end credits of Bogus Journey?
Remind me?
Right, so Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey ends with them coming back from the future, and they've trained themselves, and they're proper professional rock stars now, and they can play the guitars, and they start singing Kiss's God Gave Rock and Roll to You. And as they do that, like right at the end, they high-five, they do the whole freeze frame thing, but then over the end credits, we get these newspaper clippings that Bill and Ted succeeded. They did it. They wrote the perfect song. Death had his own solo career at one point because he was part of Wild Stallions too. Like they went to the moon. It was like Stallions 1 or like Wild Stallions 1 was like their rocket ship. And like they did all this great stuff and they brought peace and love to the world. And it's like, are they going to acknowledge that? Because in the trailer they talk about that concert.
Yeah, well, all along this has been promoted as being, you know, much to the shock of everyone, they didn't make it. So this movie's going to be about what happened and where the time captured.
Yeah.
Because we know as well that at the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, it certainly seems that they had 2 male babies, whereas in this they have 2 female kids.
Did they?
I know, because it's Little Bill and Little Ted.
Yeah.
I know, but I think that might be part of the fractured timeline.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, as long as it's addressed at some point, be it in Bill and Ted Are Doomed or in Face the Music.
Yeah.
It'd just be nice to sort of have that clean continuity. Because like that's why I always assumed why it was so hard to make a Bill and Ted 3. Because the end credits of 2 make it clear that them, along with Station and Death and everyone else, and the good robot us's, like, they all made the perfect song. And that was it. That was just the end of the story.
Yeah, because it seems actually quite sort of the fly in the face of all that to make the 3rd movie about how that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, when in your head you're like, well, the Bill and Ted story ended, they became famous, they wrote the song World Peace, yada yada yada.
Oh crap! I just got it. I just realised what happened. They did do that. They saved everyone, but then there's a dude in the future, much like Denomalos in Bogus Journey, that's went back in time, and he succeeded in stopping them from making the world's greatest song. So there you go. It writes itself out of its own plot holes.
Yeah, could be. You gotta love a good time paradox.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
Right, one last piece of news. Star Wars Lower Decks, or sorry, Star Trek. Oh god, just committed the cardinal sin.
Oh, you shall be flogged for this, sir. Wear the cone of shame.
Star Trek Lower Decks, the new animated series from CBS All Access. Now, so far all we've seen is one screenshot of it. I assumed it was going to be a kids show, but apparently not. It's written by Mike McMahon, who is the co-writer on Solar Opposites, which is that alien kind of Rick and Morty kind of show. Have you seen any of it?
No, it's the first I've heard of it.
Do you know what? It's actually really good. It's not as good as Rick and Morty, but it's certainly an adult series. So it looks like this might actually be something similar. According to Mike McMahon, he said it's going to, because we know it's going to focus on the lower decks, the supporting team or supporting crew of a starship, and it takes place after the events of Starship Nemesis. He said there's going to be a lot of recognizable characters in the galaxy at that point. Next Generation is my favorite era, and as a huge Trek fan, I would definitely want to try and use some of them so that I would not only build on that world, but also work with some of my heroes. He said, I can't be more specific than that. So it looks like this show, contrary to what we believed, isn't going to be a wee bit of sort of childish, humorous show. It is going to have that look and feel, but it's going to go down the Rick and Morty sort of line where it is quite serious story-wise, even though it's having fun with it. And it is going to pull in characters that we know from the expanded Star Trek universe.
Okay, fair enough. But, I mean, lately, just with the way that CBS has been treating Star Trek, I'm kind of done.
I know.
With Star Trek, I mean, like, be it in any form. Picard was terrible.
I hated Picard.
Likewise with Discovery, I don't even understand that show at all. How that is supposed to be Star Trek in any semblance, it just astounds me. I think this is going to be the exact same thing. I think it's going to have that real nasty overtone to it that Rick and Morty had. Yeah. And this other show that you're talking about as well sounds something cut from the similar cloth. It's not hard to get Star Trek right. Star Trek is, I mean, like, if Seth MacFarlane can get Star Trek right with the Orville, you know, like, it shouldn't be that difficult. Star Trek is supposed to represent the good in humanity. It's supposed to show a positive future where we've moved beyond even things that we're still dealing with today in the 21st century. of racism, of bigotry, of sexism. Like, we've put all of our differences aside, and instead of being introverted and looking at ourselves and being succumbed to tribalism, we're now all together as one unit. We're the human race. So what's the next thing we do? We explore the stars in the most diplomatic way we can and try and bring a bit of hope to the rest of the galaxy. So far, with CBS's All Access attempts to do this, they've done the complete opposite. It's just a cluster shambles. So,
I completely agree.
Like, you fooled me once with Discovery, you fooled me twice with Picard. You do not get a chance to fool me a third time. I mean, if I hear good things about it, I'll check it out. But for now, I have no hope for this.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think a lot of the fan base are the same. I was really excited for Picard.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. You know, I was.
I know you were.
I'm not even the biggest Star Trek fan in the world, but Star Trek Next Generation was my Star Trek. I was really excited for Picard. I hated it. I hated what they did with the character. I hated how dark it was. I hated how he was a bumbling idiot who just got insulted and degraded in every episode. I just hated everything about it. There was one scene in one episode that was more akin to something out of a Saw movie. Yeah. It just was an absolute shambles of a TV series.
It genuinely looks like they watched Logan and were like, let's make him act like that.
Let's do that. Yeah, it was an abomination of who Picard is, and I'm sure there's a lot of Trek fans out there that do like it. I know some Trek fans, although one of my best mates is a massive Star Trek fan, and he, Gareth Watson, this is a shout out to you. He defended it for the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then he wrote to me one night. And he's like, "Nah, I can't defend this anymore. This show's really bad."
No, I mean, like whenever you watch the first couple of episodes, you just get this really awful taste in your mouth, and you just can't get it out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Right, I think that's all the shows and all the stories covered for this week. For all of these stories and more, I will be up tonight writing. I'll be writing tomorrow as well. Hopefully we'll be doing some more live shows off the cuff last week, as we did this week with the Ghostbusters and the Michael Keaton Batman one. But for all the shows, all the latest news, reviews and interviews, go to followingthenerd.com. You can get us on all the social media. Facebook is followingthenerd.com. Following the Nerd on Facebook, at Nerd Following on Twitter, and then all the other lovely social medias as well. If you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, then go to ftnerd.com. That's our shop. Pick up a nice t-shirt or a hoodie or a cup or something. You get a nice logo, and it really helps us keep this going as well.
Link in the description.
Link in the description as well. Saxon, like anybody needs to be told, you're a bit of a show on YouTube. Where could they find you?
Yeah. I'm a bit of
talking about Doctor Who.
I'm a bit of a something show on YouTube, that's for sure. You can find me at youtube.com/vote Saxon07, as it says below in this lovely graphic. Doctor Who. Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Robot Wars, you name it, I love it. It's all a celebration of nerdy stuff, mostly toys. Lately, just with the lockdown and stuff, it's basically pretty much the same thing that we're doing here on this channel. Live streams. We just finished doing live streams talking about the old Argos catalogs and looking through the old toy sections in there, the toys of yesteryear. I actually bought, hang on, I'll get this, I'll be back in a second.
The Laminated Book of Dreams, Argos. I remember it used to be such a big deal getting the Argos catalogue. Just talking about how it was such a big deal.
We were looking at the, it must have been the 1994, 1995 Argos catalogue. And I came across a show I'd never heard of before. Perhaps you have. Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys.
Nope.
Never heard of it?
No.
You're not alone there. Nobody's heard of this show. But apparently it ran for 1 season, and then that was it. Mattel made a series of toys. I saw them in the Argos catalogue, and they just looked like, do you know those generic chunky 90s action figures that kids would get?
Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Hold on. I'm having a Google.
Have a Google, right? But the figures aren't great, but it was the packaging that got me. So check this out, right? So here's the packaging. Looks like your bog standard packaging. It's got the little bubble at the front of it. But
wait, you bought one?
I bought one, right?
Okay.
Because I went online and I researched the show to try and find out what the hell this was. Was it ever broadcast in Ireland? Apparently it was. But in the Wikipedia description, when they said that Mattel made toys of it, they noted that there was something special about the packaging. To look at the packaging, it just looks like a regular box. I'll try and get it to focus here the best I can. I think that's it. There we go.
Okay.
It looks like a regular packaging, just with a little bubble in the front of it. But you pull the side, and it looks like the figure's floating in space.
Right.
I thought it was such a clever little idea.
Right. So you went online and bought one of these.
I went online and bought this just for this feature alone.
Right.
The fact that you can twist the side of it and the figure looks like it's rotating and floating through space. I was like, that's really cool and it's really clever and inventive and I want one. So I got the main character, I got Captain Simeon, and he's going on display in the collection room. Mint in box, never to be opened. I had to go to Italy to get this.
Right, okay.
This came from Italy. Because it's so rare. Like nobody bought these figures and nobody wants them. And so like basically Italy was the only place that had one that was minted packaging. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And that all just came from me and Anthony just mucking about on a live stream and looking at some old Argos catalogs. Next week we're looking at my old school report cards, so be sure to tune in for that one.
Okay. Yeah. You had my interest, now you have my attention. I will be watching that. To the chat as well here. Yes, Harvey, I did send. I said Star Wars instead of Star Trek. 8-bit turtle, very useful. That's obviously a reference to your little spinny action figure. And we're getting a lot of that when I open my eyes. It's dark. What is this? What is this when I open my eyes? It's dark. What's this?
Right. Okay. Just watch the live stream and you'll find out. But basically, when I was a kid, right. I don't want to get into this because I ended up talking about this on my live stream last night and it just went off on one for like about an hour. But do you remember a time before smartphones? Using the bathroom was a very, very different time. Right. So right. Do you know the way you go to the bathroom now and you sit down, right, and you're just on your smartphone and you're just flicking through Twitter, flicking through Google, YouTube, what have you, right? And you're on the bowl for a lot longer than you normally would be.
Right.
Whereas when you were a kid, before smartphones, before anything, you just sat there, did your business, and off you went. Right. Now, obviously, you were sitting there, and depending on how things were, what the situation was, you would spend a bit of time on the toilet, and you were just sitting there with your fingers laced, going. So one of the things that I did while waiting for my leavings to pass was I put the palms of my hands into my eyes and I sang this little song. I must have been about 3 or 4. Like I played with calculators on the toilet and I played with like a Rubik's Cube and things like that on the toilet. But one of the little things I did just to pass the time was put my palms of my hands into my eyes and I sang this little song. When I closed my eyes it's dark, when I opened my eyes it's dark. And that was it. It was just a weird thing I did when I was a kid, and I talked about it, and it just got traction, and it turned into this whole tangent of just me talking about random madness that all started with me singing that song to myself as a 3-year-old when I was on the toilet. So there you go. Right. That's that charming story.
Like the sort of content that you want to listen to and watch on YouTube. Where would they go to find that?
They would find me talking about my excretion experiments at youtube.com/votesaxon07. 28k subscribers and counting. Lots more stories about passing fecal matter to come.
Good God.
Do you know what, right?
Honestly
though, right? There was a time where my primary school teacher took me aside and said, Stephen, you know, people laughing with you or people laughing at you. And you always want people to be laughing with you. Now, for as smart as that man was, he never predicted YouTube.
He certainly didn't.
Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.
We're done. We're done. Yeah. So that's it. That's the end of this show. As I say, if you like this, we go live every Thursday night. This is our new thing between 9 and 9:30. Get us on Facebook.com, Twitter @NerdFollowing. We'll be posting when we go live and everything else on there. FollowTheNerd.com for all the stories. Vote Saxon07 for all of that kind of stuff. All the toy reviews, all the news, all the live streams. It's all there as well. Myself and Saxon were working on an idea for another live stream that we can do maybe one night a week as well. We'll be breaking some news on that very, very soon as well. Until next week, I have been Mark.
I have been the guy that was weird on the toilet when he was 3.
And still is to this day. Whatever you're doing, wherever you go, may your gods go with you. Until next week, good night.
Mwah! Ciao.